What's going on, everybody? Thought I'd do a little live stream. I had some stuff open up for the afternoon. I just gave a talk about equity on stock options and so on in the tech industry, and thought I basically opened it up at the end. It's like, hey, if you've got more questions, I'm just going to hop on the live stream because I needed to end their Zoom call. Um, so I thought I'd just hang out on Twitch for a little bit and see if folks had questions. I generally use this platform to just chat about any kind of like tech career advice, getting interview preparation advice, questions about how to get a job in tech, anything along those lines. I've got some Q&A questions I can go through. I'm also happy to talk about the 3D printed giveaway that I'm doing on Thursday. So I thought I'd just kind of hang out on the stream for a little bit and see if anybody had follow-up questions from that equity talk, where basically I was mostly describing like what are ISOs, what are RSUs, what are some of the tax implications of each of those. Is it worth investing in ISOs? What are some pros and cons? And so if you registered for the, was it Eventbrite? Then you'll get the recording link from Zoom. But if not, I'm happy to kind of stick around here and let folks ask questions. So I'm just going to hang out for a little bit. May throw some music on in the background. Let's find some music for the background. Let's do some stream beats here. Cool. So we'll get some background music going. Maybe. Background music. Yeah, there we go. We got some background music going. Yeah, so I thought I'd just hang out on Twitch and see if other folks had questions as we go. Because yeah, I had a bunch of stuff kind of open up for the afternoon. I had actually had an interview that I was supposed to attend as a candidate, and they postponed it on me, which is fine. So I thought, just in case other folks wanted to drop by, hopefully they will find their way here. So let's change this up and chatting about, let's see, giveaway, and we're going to do commands, interview prep, Q&A, chatting about stock options and equity. Very cool. So that should hopefully change. Yeah, on Twitch. There we go. So yeah, hopefully some folks will find that and wander by, see how things are going. If you're in chat, say hello. Got a handful of users in chat already. So if you're there, just chat and say hi. Let me know that you're there. If you're watching and you are not logged into Twitch, you will need a free Twitch account in order to chat. So you can just set up a quick thing there. Stephen Hungry, how's it going? Good to see you. Just did a chat with a boot camp about stock equity, and some of them had a bunch of questions. So I'm like, I'll just hop on the stream and answer questions there. You got your Google on-site tomorrow. That's awesome. That's exciting. I got my final round with Amazon coming up really soon. So they're doing a prep call with me Friday morning, and I'm basically gonna like cram the weekend preparing everything else. Hopefully do their final loop interview, which are all their leadership principles. Hopefully do that Monday next week, hopefully. I have one pending offer, so I don't want to wait too long to respond on that one. But that company knows I'm interviewing in other places, so I'm not too worried that they're gonna like rescind the offer. But we'll see how that goes. But then I've got a handful of other things that I got in the works that I'm really hoping for too. So we'll see. Amazon rejected you. They asked you a distributed question on system design for a front-end engineer. Really? That's weird. That's like one of my biggest beefs right now is like companies that ask questions outside of the domain of what you're actually going to be doing on the job. Like, what's the point of asking a front-end developer about system design and understanding like distributed systems or whatever? Like, you're playing one piece in that whole thing. If you've got tons and tons of experience, I could see that, yeah, okay, maybe they're going to ask like what the depth of your knowledge is, but then to reject you by like based on that seems really weird. You waste all the leak code stuff. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, grinding on leak code is a great way to prepare for those FANG jobs. unfortunately, you have to grind leak code to prepare for those paying jobs. But it is what it is. But yeah. Cool. What kinds of things are you expecting in your Google onsite tomorrow? Or what have you been preparing? Like, what do you think? What are you hoping not to get asked? Let's go down that path a little bit. That's always an interesting one to think about. Hopefully not dynamic programming. Yeah. So Amazon and Facebook don't ask DP questions anymore, but I think Google still asks some. But hopefully not too many. Hopefully they'll go decently easy on you. I was supposed to do an interview with Twilio this afternoon, but they deferred it. They're moving me to a different group, and so they got to wait to schedule that one, which is fine. Twilio is a great company. I worked at SendGrid in the past, and so going back to Twilio would be really cool. And I was expecting to do that in a half hour, but they deferred it on me, so I don't know when they're scheduling the next one. Find out from them when they're going to do that. You also got rejected from Twilio. Yeah. What you don't want to get. All right, we're asking big O. So, I mean, Google is going to ask some amount of big O notation. Recursive backtracking, recursion and backtracking, those are pretty popular, unfortunately. DFS, BFS, and DP, those are like the top three. If we go look at this website, I'm going to drop this in chat. We had Sean Prashad on the stream a while back. I want to say like maybe 2 months ago, and we were talking about like how he came up with this website for LeetCode, and you can actually filter by company. And he kind of aggregates this from a number of different sources. And if you go in and you look at like the frequency at the very top for Google, depth first search, dynamic programming, and heap problems are like the top three. You can ace recursive backtracking, just can't figure out the big O. Oh yeah, I mean, so my advice with that, you can determine big O for backtracking recursion based on whether you're starting all over again or if you're starting at another point. So I think of problems like the knapsack problem. So with the knapsack problem, you can only grab one of each thing, and you have to decide like which things you're putting in your backpack to take away. And so that one's a little bit easier. That one's, I think, just n squared, because every iteration you're just carrying on from there. But you like every iteration, you basically have to look through like what's left, what could I purchase, and you can optimize that a little bit. But if you're on something where you can take the same thing over and over again, then it becomes exponential, because you're potentially going down a path where you're buying the same thing over and over, and then going down a path of like what else is there, and then you're backtracking, and then going down a path and backtracking, going down a path, and then from there, then you're moving on to the next thing in the menu where you're like potentially buying a bunch of those, and you're backtracking on each of those. So it becomes wildly exponential. That kind of problem is what we call NP complete or NP hard. And most places aren't going to care about the time complexity on those, because there's no good way to optimize those aside from caching and understanding like how to shortcut and optimize those. I mean, it could be factorial. But it really depends on the nature of the problem and how much you can optimize from there. Like you can always improve the average runtime by adding caching and shortcuts and things like that, but you're not going to improve your worst case scenario, which is big O. Yeah. Cool. If you're hanging out in chat, if you came over from the Galvanize talk to talk about equity, feel free to drop questions in chat. If you're watching anonymous and you're not logged into Twitch, you will need to make a Twitch account in order to submit questions. But it's free. You can just set up a quick account and then come back to the channel and drop those questions in chat. I'm happy to address those. That was primarily why I wanted to start streaming this afternoon. I had an interview cancel or defer on me, not cancel. And so I'm happy to just kind of hang out and offer advice. I was trying to see whether Trash Dev was going to be streaming this week, but I haven't seen him back online. But if anybody's here from Trash Dev's stream, if you want me to do a resume review, I'm happy to dive in on some of those. You can send this over to techinterview.guide/streaming. There's a way to upload a resume there. So same kind of thing that Trash Dev would ask for, where you like anonymize your details. I'm happy to pull those up on a screen and do a little resume review if you got a resume you want me to look over and just give my perspectives on. I always tell people, like, don't ever listen to one person's perspectives on things, because they're going to be skewed and biased to that person. But if you've got if you want some advice on resume from me as a hiring manager and so on, being in tech for a long time, I'm happy to do that. Aside from that, I've been printing out these 3D printed dragons like mad lately. I've got probably a dozen of them now. Some of them I'm keeping, some of them I'm sending to family. And I got this guy right here in kind of this gold rust charcoal kind of pattern. This one came out super, super nice. I actually saw somebody 3D print one on a conveyor belt where like it's massive. Like the head of the dragon is like this big, and it's super, super long. It was just ridiculous to see that thing print like in such an enormous size. This was as big as I could print on my printers. And the way that they 3D print is all the little hinges inside are just kind of built up on each other. And so as soon as you take it off the printer, like it can move around and stuff. So they're pretty neat. But then you can also get into things with those hinges. You can get into things like these, what they call them, like infinite fidget cubes, where basically it's just a hinge that folds in on itself and just like infinitely folds. And so it prints flat on the printer, but then as soon as you take it off and kind of like crack all the little joints and stuff, and then like shake all the little dust out of it, then it moves freely like that. So these things are really, really cool. They're a big hit with the kids. But I wanted to start on these dragons for the giveaway on Thursday. So Thursday night, I'm going to be giving away a ton of these things. So come back to the stream Thursday night, 7 p.m. Mountain, which would be 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. And basically in between all the resume reviews that we're going to do a giveaway. So we're going to start with a giveaway, we're going to do a resume, we're going to do a giveaway, we're going to do a resume, we're going to do a giveaway until we either run out of dragons or we run out of resumes. So yeah, it should be fun. So I've got almost a dozen resumes submitted now, so I'm pretty psyched about that. My friend Josh, I'm basically going to send him all the resumes like minutes before the call and just say, you get to pick which one of these we look at next, because he's in HR, and that's typically what would happen is HR would look at your resume and go, hey Ian, I think this is a good resume, and then I'm going to look at it and tell you what I think. And so we're going to figure out like how he can share his screen and get that shared on the screen and so on. So it should be pretty fun. Looking forward to that stream Thursday night. And we'll give away a whole bunch of those dragons. I've got little horse figurines that I'll probably throw in some of the boxes with them too. And a ton of these like snowflake ornaments. I've been like mad printing these, expecting that my kids' school was doing this winter festival where we could like sell these for like, 6 of them for a quarter kind of thing. And then the school canceled and they're like, no, we're going to do it in January instead. It's like, well, there goes all my like snowflake ornament ideas. Because I started printing them really big too. I started supersizing them. So I was printing them this size, and then I started making them this size. And now I don't need either one. So these ginormous ones are going to go up on my wall in the back, along with some small ones, get some variety back there. Until I can actually paint that wall. I'll probably paint that wall over the holidays. We'll see how that pans out. But yeah, so I've been mad printing these things. So I've literally got like 100 of these in a box. And so I may throw some of these in the box with the dragons as part of the giveaway too. We'll see how much interest there is in there. But yeah, otherwise I'm just going to hang out and just see if people want to talk about interview prep, career prep, equity, anything along those lines. But yeah, Stephen, good luck with Google tomorrow. It's going to be a tough interview, but it should be pretty great. So good luck with that. I think if you've been grinding on LeetCode, you're probably going to be fine. Cool. What else is going on? Got a handful of other viewers hanging out in chat. So drop a hello in chat. Let me know you're there. Let me know what's going on. Let's see what else. What else is going on with my interviewing? The job that I really want. I got a call from their recruiter this morning and said, everything's on track. The team has to review a bunch of stuff, but almost the entire team is at a tech conference right now. And I'm like, leave me hanging. Like I've been waiting a week already, and now this week they're all at this conference. So I kind of want to like put some pressure on them and say like, hey, I've got this standing offer. Like you're gonna have to hurry this up. because I really want to work for them. Like legitimately, like I'm not just saying that when I call and be like, oh, I really want to work for you, so you'll speed things up. It's like, no, that company, I actually really want the job. But I also don't want to be too aggressive about pinging the team going like, hey, I know you're at this tech conference, but I really want to work for you. So could you go look at what's going on and like do that final round, please? But we'll see what plays out there. And then I got Twilio going on. I've also applied for developer relations role at Shopify, which I think would be crazy fun. I've done a lot of work in e-commerce in the past and ad technology and things like that. So I think that would be a really great gig. Waiting on a startup in the Bay Area to get back to me. What else is going on? Twilio deferred. So they're like, yeah, that role that you were supposed to do that technical presentation for this afternoon, we filled that role, but we want to put you in another similar role, but it's going to be more like enterprise level developer relations. And I'm like, that'd be sweet too. Because I really like working with customers. I really like doing public speaking and the education side of things. So I'm like, yeah, like whatever you need me to do, I'll do. But now I got to wait for that team to get back to me to schedule those interviews. Yay! Lots of deferrals going on today, which is disappointing, but it's fine. We'll get there. You also don't know minimum spanning tree. Is that bad? Nah, I don't think so. No, I think you'd be fine on some of those. Remind me again, Stephen, how much experience you have. Like, are you fairly new in tech, or you've been around a while? 3 years experience. No, I don't think. I mean, if you get really blocked on something, I mean, they'll find another thing for you. So, hey, thanks for the follow. In Los Angeles, in Los Angeles. I lived in Los Angeles myself for 13 years. So, thanks for the follow and thanks for the chat. What's the best way to prepare for a tech interview as a full stack engineer with 1 year of experience? The same way that you would prepare for the first tech job and every tech job you're going to get in the future, which I know is a really dumb answer. So let me qualify that a little bit. If you've got a year of experience, a lot of companies are going to be way more likely to hire you than the very first tech job that you got. Getting that first job that you got a year ago was immensely harder than finding a job right now. Right now, companies are super hungry for developers, but a lot of job postings that you're going to see are going to be looking for work experience. Ignore the work experience requirement. You don't have to worry about like, oh, the company wants like 3 to 5 years. Go apply for that job anyway. Please go apply for that job. As having been a hiring manager, I know that a lot of those job posts are just wish lists of like, I hope I can find somebody with all these qualifications. Just go apply for the job. And don't worry about like some of the requirements on there. But the number one ways that you can prepare, if you haven't yet applied for any jobs, start company research and try to find out like, is this company even a company I want to apply at? What am I looking for in a company? Because that's going to help you sort of like figure out where you want to apply in the first place. So do your company research, network with people at that company, and find out like what's it like to work there. Get answers to questions that you couldn't find when you're doing your own research. So like if you can't find out, you know, what are their diversity stats, or if you can't find out what their tech stack is or what their future tech stack is going to be, ask those questions as you're doing networking with people. And then as you're doing networking, stay in touch with them and say, these are the projects that I'm working on. This is what I'm thinking about. I want to apply in 3 months. What do you think I should be learning, studying to be like a really amazing candidate when I get around to applying? Or you can just straight up ask them like, hey, if I give you a resume, could you take it to your manager? Like, are there any openings for somebody with a year of experience? That can open doors. As having been on the hiring side of things for many years, I can tell you with certainty, we are looking for ways to shortcut the process. And that's why a lot of companies will offer like referral bonuses to people on staff to say, look, if you find a candidate to where we don't even have to post the job and get flooded with like 500 applications, and now we got to spend all this time screening a bunch of people and hope that we find some good candidates and then interview them and hope that we get like a winner out of that. And if not, we got to go find another batch and interview them. If you can refer somebody and just shortcut all of that, we'll pay you the money. Like, it's actually cheaper for them to pay you like even a $5,000 bonus than for the HR team and the engineering team and all the management involved of doing a hiring process for like several months. So a company is much more happy to pay you like a $5,000 referral bonus for that kind of thing. Some companies don't offer that much, but some companies actually have a pretty generous referral package. So whoever you're networking with, ask them like, hey, can I give you a resume to submit? Now they may say, well, HR said you had to apply anyway. And so at that point, apply and then say, hey, I've applied. Now can I, can you go talk to HR about my application? Do a referral for me. If you've been in contact with them and you're asking them genuine questions and they know that you're not just talking to them because you want the job, like you're legitimately trying to network. You're legitimately trying to like build up the network of people that you know and people that you're talking to. And they know that you're genuine about it, that you're not just hitting them up because you need a job. Then people are way more likely to help you out. But if I get hit with like, hey, you got a minute to talk about your job? I'm like, sure. And they're like, yeah, I'm looking for work. I'm like, oh, all right. You're trying to get a favor out of me. But if you're like, hey, I legitimately want you to mentor me if you've got some time, I built up this little project. Could you help me optimize like this one little piece of code? Like every engineer out there is going to help you with that. Don't say like, hey, go look at this whole like 5,000 line project that I wrote, can you help me optimize the entire thing? But just say like, hey, I think I've got a bottleneck in this bit of code. Could you take a look at it and give me any advice on how to make this bit of code better? If it's like a really small sample, like everybody would be happy to help dive in on some of that. And so the more networking you can do and get other people's input on your project now is that much better, that much faster, that much more elaborate to then promote to a company and say, this is what I do, this is what I can build, this is what I'm capable of. So that would be a couple of tips there. So start the networking sooner than you think. And then like keep reaching out to those people and say like, I'm genuinely interested in working there at some point. What can I be learning now that when I do apply for that job, I can be a really good candidate? And they may look at your qualifications and say, you're already a good candidate. Like just go ahead and apply. Or they can say like, oh, like some companies like legitimately like, no, we really do need somebody with a certain amount of experience because they're looking for people that have been around the block and had to deal with some issues and so on. But a lot of companies are like right now are willing to be really flexible on their requirements and really flexible on the pay because it's a job seeker market right now. Like I can go apply for a whole bunch of jobs, get a whole bunch of offers, and then I get to pick. Instead of like the companies having all the power. We have a lot more power now as candidates as we apply for jobs. And I'm going through the job hunt myself right now. So I feel your pain with all of this too. Cool. Hopefully that answered your question, but I mean, feel free to drop like other follow-up in chat. I'm happy to continue following up if you've got other questions or other like more specific things I can help out with. I'm happy to do so. Welcome to everybody else viewing that just dropped in. Hello. If you've got questions, so initially I started the stream because I just gave a technical talk at Galvanize about stock equity in the tech industry. If you are from that talk from Eventbrite, if you've got additional questions, feel free to drop those in chat too. That was primarily why I started the stream today, but I'm always happy to just chat about anything job related, career related, interview prep, my thoughts and perspectives on things in the industry. Happy to be transparent about what I'm going through in my own job hunt right now, all that kind of stuff. So I'm happy to chat as much as you all need. So let me know if you got questions, just drop them in chat and we'll kind of go from there. Yeah. And if you're super interested in the 3D dragons, I got a whole bunch of these guys printed up and lots of different colors going on. Primarily though, I've been printing a whole bunch of them in these two colors. So it's kind of like a red gold and then this red gold charcoal black sort of combination. And by far this color combination is my favorite. I actually reached out to the company that makes that filament going, hey, you don't sell that filament on Amazon anymore and I want to buy like 5 more spools of it like immediately, can you help me out? And they're like, well, it's not going to go on sale until the 15th of December. I'm like, I'm there. Like 15th of December, I'm going to buy up like your entire stock because it's a fantastic filament. It prints really nice. The color comes out like almost a matte finish, like almost a flat sort of finish, but it's got a nice little sparkle in there too. What else can I show you? Let me go grab some more. So I got a whole box of them now. I got a bunch printed up in, well, I got this one in kind of this black shiny filament, which is like super, super shiny. I got a couple of them printed up in this rainbow filament, and so it kind of transitions from one color to another, gives it kind of a neat stripe effect. And then like more of the red gold. I've got this one, which is kind of a temperature changing filament, and so as it gets warm, it'll turn kind of a rosy peach color, and if it gets really hot, it turns bright yellow, which is pretty neat. And then what else is in there? Oh, it's another one of the black rust gold one as well. And so everyone prints a little bit different because of where the transition left off. So this one ended up with like really cool gold spikes on his back and gold horns, where the other one printed where it had more of the black spikes on his back, and more of the gold on his belly. So yeah, so these are pretty cool, and I'm going to be giving all of these away on Thursday's stream. So definitely come by the stream and hang out, and you'll have ways of entering the giveaway in Twitch. But you'll have to be a Twitch user in order to be part of the giveaway. Aside from that, I'm the author of this website, techinterview.guide. It's a whole bunch of free advice. So everything I do for free. I've got a mailing list that you can join, and that mailing list is basically 6 weeks of content. You get an email every day. It's meant to be short, and all I do is I promote, like, here's a behavioral question or a technical question that you might get asked as a developer in a technical interview, but why that question is important to me as a hiring manager. And so I always pose the question as not always from the point of here's how to answer it perfectly, because there's tons and tons of advice and research on that you can go find. My presentation of this content is like, here's why it's important to us as a business. Here's why I'm adding this question to the list that I think that you should go know and study and have a prepared answer for, because this is why it's important to me. And so I talk about like web security, I talk about scalability, I talk about databases, talk about API consumption, building APIs. When did you last mentor somebody? What kind of company culture do you want? And like why those kinds of things would be important to me and my company and my, and most of it comes from my background and the kinds of questions that I have asked in a tech interview, and like why I would ask those questions. Over time, I've also been building up other questions, and some of them I'm answering on the stream as well. And so a lot of those questions, I'm actually expanding the mailing content right now. And I was hoping it was going to be ready by the end of November so I could launch it tomorrow, but that didn't happen because of holidays and me ending up in a job hunt. And so that ended up getting deferred. And so it'll be sometime in December. But I'm basically expanding it into 4 different mailing lists from there. And there's going to be one just on technical questions, one just on behavioral questions, one on just general interview preparation, and then another one on like what's the interview process and what should I expect at every point along the way, and just taking a lot of questions mostly from the stream that I've done in the past and just rewriting some of that content. And then I'll eventually get some of that content up on the website as well. So it's a whole combination of content that I've got. I've got website, I've got a YouTube channel where all of these videos from Twitch end up on YouTube. And then whenever I do a question and answer session, I chop all those up and get those up as short videos set on, what do they call them, like playlists on YouTube. So if you want to go watch just a bunch of behavioral questions, you can just play that playlist and you'll see like how I address a bunch of behavior questions. And so I'm always happy to connect with people on LinkedIn. You can, here's my LinkedIn profile. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. Don't follow me on LinkedIn. Actually send a connection request. And then if you want me to introduce you to anybody in my network, I will do that. I love helping people find jobs. And so I'm more than happy to help make introductions and just say like, hey, Stephen Hungry was hanging out on my stream and he's got questions about your company if you got a minute to connect. And I'm happy to like point them to your LinkedIn profile and hopefully they connect with you. So if you want introductions, I'm happy to make intros. If you've got questions, you can send them to me over LinkedIn chat or on Twitter. I'm also on Twitter, the same handle as I have both on LinkedIn and Twitch, just Ian Douglas 736. You can find me on Twitter as well, and you can DM me questions there. I've always got my DMs open. So any kind of question. And the questions that come in that way, I always ask anonymously and just say like, oh, hey, this is a question that I had come in. But if you're in chat, like in Los Angeles, it's a tricky name to pronounce. because that's actually showing up on the screen. People can see that it was you that asked that question, so I don't hide who you were. But if you've got a question that you want to ask more anonymously, send it to me on LinkedIn or Twitter, and I always ask those anonymously. I don't say who the person was. Yeah. So if you do have other questions about interview prep, company research, like even how to do company research, anything like that, I'm happy to dive in on any of those topics for a little bit. Otherwise, I've got my afternoon open for me because my interview got deferred at Twilio. So I'm just kind of hanging out for the day. Let's see. I had something come in on LinkedIn. I'm messaging you to see if you'd be interested in us creating you a website for free to build a relationship. No, I can build my own, thank you. We created this initiative as a win-win, offering free professional websites to entrepreneurs impacted by COVID. No, you can go away and I'm going to block you as spamming me. All right, so let's go to your profile and more and remove that connection. Got a couple other folks that wanted to connect from today's webinar. I'll absolutely connect with those folks. I'm on Twitch right now if you have additional questions. Twitch.tv and 736. So one of them asked, I don't know if they'll be hanging out on the stream, but they asked a question. So this is just coming in from LinkedIn. I literally just received an offer from a startup that includes stock options as compensation. So cool. Hopefully that conversation was really helpful for them today. It was well timed. Congrats on the offer. Cool. All right. So yeah, if you've got other questions, feel free to drop those in chat. I'm happy to just hang out and chat with folks. Kind of see what else is going on. I'm trying to think of what else is going on with my job hunt. So I reached out to Shopify. I haven't heard back from them. I tried applying at Microsoft I applied at Microsoft and I got rejected by Microsoft because even for a tech like developer relations role, they wanted like 2 years of PowerShell experience. And I'm like, well, I've been doing like Linux Bash for like 20 odd years. Like, does that count? And they're like, nope, it's got to be PowerShell. It's like, all right, I don't do anything in PowerShell. And they're like, thanks for applying anyway. It's like recruiters need to learn transferable skills. It's like PowerShell is a lot like Bash. Like, it's fine. But oh well. It is what it is. What else? I applied for a couple of roles at Google. Didn't hear anything back from Google. Who else did I apply to lately? I think I applied at Twitter a while back and I didn't hear anything back from them either. Handful of startups. A couple of startups reached out. They want to talk to me about like starting a developer relations team or starting like a pre-sales engineering team. Less excited about starting a team. I mean, I can manage. I really like managing people, but when you get put into that kind of role, you're expected to do the job and hire people to do the job. And it's like, well, which one do you want me to focus on? Because they both need full-time attention. Like, you either want me to build you a good team or you want me to do the content creation and so on myself. But expecting somebody to do both as like a founding member of a team like that is tricky and hard. And they would have to pay me a lot more. And they probably want to pay me for that kind of role. I'm still going to chat with them, but I'm not as inclined to like start a team. I'd rather just join a team, to be honest. So Stephen, just kind of going back on what you were saying in chat, if you're still around, you mentioned 3 years of experience, so 13 or 14. So you have 13 or 14 like total years in the tech industry, but 3 years of programming. I wasn't totally clear on what you were sharing as far as the amount of time that you'd spent in the industry there. To a couple of folks that just dropped in to view the channel, hello, welcome. Let me know in chat where you're at. I started the stream today to follow up with a webinar that I did about equity in the tech industry, and just chatting about some of my own experiences and talking about taxes and all that kind of stuff. And hey, thanks for the follow. Oh, cool. So, Mr. Tran, thanks for dropping in. And cool. Thanks for connecting over LinkedIn. That was really cool. So yeah, so I thought I would just start the chat and see like if there were any like follow-up questions about equity or just any other kind of interview prep, you know, stuff like that. Just gonna send someone a message on LinkedIn. So give me 1 sec. I don't want to like call somebody out without getting their permission. So if you are currently live in the chat, I may or may not have just sent you a LinkedIn message. Cool. What else is going on with everybody? Anybody else got interviews coming up? Any kind of like study tips, anything along those lines? All right, cool. Thanks for responding on LinkedIn. So, Altran32 messaged me on LinkedIn to connect after the equity talk, and I asked them like, hey, would you be willing to talk about your interview experience? So, Altran, would you mind like talk us through a little bit about like, you know, how long have you been in tech? Like, what have you just been studying? What has your interview process been like? How long has it taken? Like, is this your first job in tech? How long was that whole interview process for you? What was like your best and worst? Like, don't name companies. We don't want to like name and shame on the channel, unless you really, really want to name and shame, you know, like a really horrible experience. But could you tell us a little bit about what your experience was, like how long things took, how you got your foot in the door to like even get talking to companies, things along those lines around, like how did you get noticed? How many companies did you have to apply to, or did they find you? Stuff like that. I'd love to hear kind of your experience on that. Again, this is why I love running this channel, because I don't want it to just be like another white dude, you know, spouting opinions. I believe very much in diversity of thought and perspective, and I love hearing what other people are going through, because I'm going through a job hunt right now. But what Altran is going through and has gone through is going to be completely different, because I've been in the industry for a long, long time. I don't think I think Altran has been doing this as much. Although you get some pretty cool background on LinkedIn. So a little bit curious, sort of what your interview experience has been like, if you feel like sharing any of that. You were in biotech for 4 years developing anti-cancer drugs. That's amazing. Growth was capped. Okay. Needed more of a challenge and responsibility, not to mention I was always in the lab. Yeah. Some people really like just tinkering in a lab and like exploring that kind of stuff, and they really thrive on that. Some people just, they find it kind of boring or a little mundane after a while. So I feel where you're coming from on that. Always dehydrated. Interesting. Working nights and weekends. Yeah, that stinks. Trying to find a job where like the hours and what you do line up with what you want your lifestyle to be. You know, like I think a lot of us take that kind of for granted in the tech industry, to be honest. Like, you know, if I get a job in tech, I'm going to work 9 to 5. Well, I mean, it depends what kind of job. I worked at a startup where I was doing 90 hours a week, which if you break it down is something like 12 hours a day or something, or like 12 hours a day, 11 hours, yeah, like 12 hours a day, like every single day. Or some days would be like ridiculous, and like one day I'd work like half a day kind of thing. And I've worked at plenty of startups over my career, and so I think a lot of us take for granted that, oh yeah, I'm just going to take a job, it'll be 9 to 5, no big deal. But sometimes you end up in a job where they're like, yeah, you're going to work the night shift for the next couple of months. You're like, I didn't sign up for that, but you kind of feel trapped in the job doing it. So I'm actually just going to change up my desk and like sit in the chair for a while. I've been standing up for most of the day. From one old fart to everybody else watching this stream, invest in a good chair, invest in a good platform that you can stand on, and invest in a good desk and good shoes. I actually heard somebody describe it as spend money on things that get you off the ground. So good bed, good chair, good shoes, like whatever can actually get you up off the ground. Invest in those things. And I wholeheartedly agree. I think it's great to do that. So going back to chat, Altran says, my uncle's a network admin, kind of pushed me into the tech field. Okay, discovered JavaScript, made some small apps like Connect 4, typing tests, that's cool. Oh, you went through Hack Reactor, very cool, completed it, graduated at the end of October, and been in the job hunt ever since, yeah. So been in the job hunt about 6 weeks-ish, 5-6 weeks, somewhere like that, maybe 5 weeks. I've been on the job hunt now for a couple of weeks myself, and it's interesting. It's interesting to see the dynamic in the job hunt now compared to what it was years ago, where it was more of the companies having power over what kind of roles they wanted to promote, what kind of salary they wanted to pay, what kind of perks and benefits they wanted to offer. And it was all about like, we got a foosball table. You know, nowadays, like, I'm not even coming to your office, so I don't give a crap about your foosball table. Like, I'm working from home, or I'm going to go work remote. Like, it shouldn't matter where I do my job. And actually responded to a thread on LinkedIn the other day where someone was asking, like, should you get paid less money to work remote? And I'm like, heck no. Like, who cares whether I'm at your office, at my home, or sitting on a beach somewhere? If I'm doing the same amount of work and the same quality of work, I should be able to work from wherever for the same amount of money. I'm doing the same work. And everybody else like me in the job, and not like me like genetically, but just everybody else at my level should also be paid that same amount of money. So, you know, don't think for a moment that I'm going to go work for a company where you're paying someone that's doing the same work as me less money than me. I've actually turned down 2 companies in the past week and a half. They're like, hey, we want you to come interview. We think you'd be a great fit. And I go look at the company and be like, why is your engineering team 100% male? Like, yeah, your company is like all about diversity, and across the whole company, you are a very diverse company, but your engineering team is 100% men, and that's not cool. Like, why is that? And I was actually on a call with one of them at the time, they were like, do you have any questions for me? I'm like, yeah, why is it only men in engineering? And they're like, well, didn't have a good answer. I'm like, all right, cool, well, thanks, and hung up. And I emailed them later, and they're like, hey, we want to move forward. And I'm like, I don't want to move forward. And then another one reached out, and I didn't even do the phone screen with them. And they're like, hey, we want to do a phone screen. And I'm like, I will phone screen with you on the condition that you can tell me like how many non-males are in your engineering team, because everybody I see on LinkedIn is male, and I don't want to contribute to that. So I would rather step away as a candidate to allow someone else to come in and impress you with her or their skills, to where I'm not just going to be another man on the team. Like, I don't want to just be another male on the team. You know, if you really believe in diversity, then you should be reaching out to non-male candidates. So we'll see. Altran says 231 job applications in 5 weeks. Dude, that's a lot. I gotta go do the math on that. 231 over 5 weeks is 46 a week. So let's average that at 50 a week. And out of those 50, you got 10 interviews. So is that 10 different companies, or is that 10 interviews total? That would be an interesting thing. And you got 2 offers. That's awesome that you got multiple offers. One offer I received was just from a normal online app. The other was a recruiter that found me on LinkedIn. That's cool. 10 different companies. Okay. So wow, 230 applications, and you got 10 companies responding. Well, 10 interviews. So how many of those applications, like, were the other 221 applications that you didn't hear anything? Like, you got completely ghosted? Because that's super disappointing. And I don't know why companies can't be bothered to even automate, like, hey, you know, we got flooded, we'll get to you, you know, in a week or 2 maybe, or like just auto screen and say like everybody that doesn't meet this basic qualification, just send them like an auto reject message so you at least hear from them and say we're not moving forward. But to just completely ghost people sucks. And that's like one of the biggest things that needs to change in our industry. Like people need to stop just not responding. Whether you're a candidate or a company, you owe it to the other to have a decent amount of respect to at least say like I or we are not moving forward. 77 of the 231 at least rejected you. Okay. Well, at least rejected. That's a lot of rejections. And the rest are still pending, maybe ghosted. Yeah, I would say if you haven't heard back from them, especially like from the end of October into early November, if you haven't heard from any of them by now, you're probably not going to hear back from them. And I've kind of wondered that too, about like getting through the interview process. And it's like, well, I'm waiting to hear back from the team and they haven't responded yet. And does that mean that I didn't wow them enough that they're like, we really need to move ahead, you know, with this person because they're super awesome? If they felt that I was just kind of meh, and that's why they're not like prioritizing like moving forward, those are the kinds of things that go through my mind. And some of that's just, you know, self-doubt and self-worth and things like that I deal with. But you know, these are things that you're going to deal with in the tech industry like your whole life. I've been doing this for 25 years and I still feel imposter syndrome. I still get super nervous when people watch me code. I love live streaming though. This is great. I love just having conversation, even though it feels like a little bit asynchronous of like asking questions and waiting for someone to respond in chat. But so you got 77 rejections. So let's round that. Let's just say 150 companies just ghosted you and don't give a crap. And that sucks. Again, like companies need to stop doing that. Like if they're not going to consider you, they should just tell you immediately and not leave you hanging on hope that maybe someday you're going to hear from them. Yeah, imposter syndrome is definitely a real thing. I still get it all the time. So of those 77, well, so 231 apps, 77 rejections, 10 other companies actually did interviews. So yeah, that left you about 150 companies that just ghosted you. 10 companies went through the interviews, and then those 10 turned into 2 offers. It's an interesting ratio looking at that. We did a chat on the stream back in September, October. I forget exactly when, with a really great engineer named Jen. And Jen did something similar. She went through LinkedIn and applied like quick apply, you know, with LinkedIn on a bunch of jobs and didn't hear back from anybody. So Jen went on, worked for a startup.com and Angel List, which is like angel.co, and put a couple of profiles up on there and had like 15 companies reach out to her. So she didn't have to go chase jobs. They reached out to her. That turned into a bunch of interviews, and Jen ended up with 7 job offers all at the same time. But she was packing all of her interviews to happen all at the same time. And so the offers just all came in at the same time. And she's like, yep, maybe, yep, nope, kind of thing. And then went through and like had to make the decision of which company she went with. And she got to pick out of several offers. And I think that's amazing. I think any company that can do their interview process differently and faster, they're the companies that are going to win right now. Like I started an interview process with one company and they're like, cool, well, we got through that first round of interviews. And I'm like, okay, you know, what's next? And they're like, yeah, we got like 6 or 7 more interviews to do. I'm like, how about no? I'm like, that's too much. Like, come on. If you can't tell within like 2 or 3 interviews whether I'm going to be a good person to hire, and that you can trust based on my background and my references that I'm going to do an okay job, like, I'm not going to dance through that many hoops. Like, if you're a FANG company, I get it, because you want like the top of the best. But, you know, like, if you're not like a top tier company, you shouldn't have 8 rounds of interviews. It's ridiculous. You should not have 8 rounds of interviews if you're not a top company. Like, I get it. You also want the best of the best, but you're probably not paying the best of the best. You're not paying FANG level salaries, so you're not going to get people that FANG is trying to attract. I think a lot of companies just don't realize that. So I know I'm getting up on my soapbox for the afternoon here, but yeah. So we'll see where all these other interviews kind of play out. But yeah, like reaching out to those 2 companies felt really good over the past week, saying like, hey, I'm going to withdraw as a candidate because I'm not going to go work for a company and contribute to an all-male engineering team. Like, it's just not something I want to do. Just checking LinkedIn, see if I got any other notices or questions or anything like that. Let's see what else is going on. AWS reInvent is going on right now. They've had some really interesting stuff. I watched a bit of the keynote this morning. AWS is launching like a cloud-based 5G infrastructure, which is going to be super interesting. So it's going to be like a scalable 5G cell network that I think they're using satellites for. So that's going to be pretty interesting to see how that's going to impact like latency times and things like that for transmitting internet data and edge computing and stuff like that. It's funny, the person that spammed me about doing a website also endorsed me for a bunch of skills on LinkedIn. Endorsed me for a bunch of stuff and then hit me up with spam. So I deleted the connection with them, but thank you for the recommendations anyway. Let's see what else is going on. Oh, I got approved to do LinkedIn videos. There's a guy that I watch on LinkedIn named Tyler Desson. He does like a video like every morning. He like connects with people as part of his job as a recruiter. And I thought about using something like Restreamer. It's a platform where I can like stream through my OBS software and it'll go to like Twitch and YouTube and LinkedIn and Facebook and like all these other things. But it's a paid service, and I don't know yet if I want to like pay to stream on a whole bunch of platforms. Because I don't think that there's a good central way of like getting all of the questions all in one spot. Because right now when I'm in OBS, I see the Twitch chat is part of my OBS software. That's the open broadcast software that I use. But I think if I use Restreamer, I have to use their interface in order to stream to all the things. And I like having the control on OBS, and I can control all the different volume levels, and I can play background music of my own and all this kind of stuff. So I don't know what I'm going to do platform-wise there, but we'll see. Trash Dev in the house. What's going on, Chris? Good to see you. I saw you lurking on my LinkedIn the other day. Hope you're doing good. How's the move prep going? You getting ready to like pack up your house and move, right? So I was doing a chat for Galvanize earlier today about equity in the tech industry and answering questions about ISOs and RSUs. And so I thought I'd start streaming and just get any other questions out there that folks had. So I thought I'd just come hang out on the stream for a little bit. Last leg. Oh, you're out in the morning. Wow, that's quick. Are you moving like somewhere in the same region, or are you like moving like different state, different region completely, or are you kind of sticking around where you are? And this is for the new job, right? You got a new job, so are you moving for that? Or are you moving closer? Oh, you're moving to Irvine. Yeah, I know Irvine. I used to live in North Orange County, up in the Fullerton area, before we came out to California, or came out to Colorado from California. So I kind of lived all around LA. I lived in, where did I live? I lived in La Habra for a while. I lived in Glendora for a while. And then we moved out to, when my wife and I got married, we moved out to Santa Monica. I was working for a startup out there, hated it. Immediately moved back inland. Moved to Fullerton. As soon as we moved to Fullerton, Google's like, hey, we want to interview you and have you come work back at Venice Beach. And I'm like, I'm not making that commute. That's not happening. And we hated living at the beach. It was super expensive all the time. So the new job is remote, so you're trying Irvine. That's cool. Irvine's still a little spendy to live in. We basically had to make the choice in Southern California. Do we buy a house or do we put our kids in a good school? And because we couldn't afford both. Me in tech and my wife with a master's degree, like both of us working full time, like we couldn't afford both a house and like a really good like private school for our kids. So we moved out to Colorado and we bought a house, and my wife's a stay-at-home mom and we live on one salary now. It's great. It's a lot cheaper out here, and I love having seasons for sure. You're leaving Westchester now. Okay, cool. Initially in Sawtell. Yep. Move back to VA because it's too expensive here. Yeah, it's pretty spendy in California. Well, after we bought our house out here in Colorado, we actually priced housing back where we lived in North Orange County, and it was literally going to be almost quadruple the price for the same square footage of house. Like we got a 2,700 square foot house for like 330K. This is a number of years ago, obviously. And the same house was going to be like 1.2, 1.4. And it's like, yeah, that's ridiculous. Like I'm not going to carry a mortgage for like $1.5 million. Even on a tech salary, that's just a ridiculous amount of money to like give away to a bank every month. So yeah, I love Colorado too. It's really great being here. Like growing up in Canada with seasons, you miss having seasons. Like when I first moved out to California, I'm like, hey, sweet, it's always summer. Like 8 months later, I'm like, oh, it's always summer. Like I just got tired of it. Like it's like time doesn't pass in California. Like it feels like just another day of the same season. But when you grow up with seasons and you use that as a mark of like, oh, time is actually progressing. It's fall, now it's winter, now it's spring, and now it's summer again. You kind of get this whole mentality going of like, okay, another year has passed. In California, man, you have two seasons in California. It's summer and it's pretty much summer. And I just got really tired of that. So Stephen Hungry lives in Denver. Sweet, I'm up in Arvada. What part of Denver are you in? You're like right downtown, or are you in like DTC? Yeah, and it was really hot. My wife got tired of me whining all the time about how hot it was in California, because where we lived inland, it would be like 100, 110 during the day, and it would cool down at night to like 95. And I was like, I couldn't sleep. Anything hotter than like 80 degrees outside, I couldn't fall asleep at night. My wife got tired of me whining about it. She's like, well, find a job somewhere else. So I did, and we moved out to Colorado. So Stephen lives right downtown. That's cool. So I taught at Turing, which is down at 17th and Market. I love being downtown. Downtown's got a good vibe. Downtown Denver reminds me a lot of Ottawa, where I lived before I moved out to down to the States. Denver's a pretty cool little city for sure. Trash Dev was thinking about Colorado. I have a bunch of folks who know in Boulder. Boulder's a great city. It's kind of bubble. It's got its own little bubble of like, once you're in Boulder, you don't want to ever leave Boulder. And Boulder has kind of its own little mindset and lifestyle. A lot of hipster kind of lifestyle, but it's not a bad thing. But it's also really expensive in Boulder. Like if you buy a place right in Boulder, it's just as expensive as Southern California. And so it's a little bit similar to like a Southern California thing, where you want to work in Boulder, but you got to live like half an hour away to find something affordable. But even a lot of those suburbs now, their prices are going up as well. So like Erie and Superior and all those regions around Boulder, they're all starting to get expensive too. So you got to move even farther out to find something affordable. So Stephen went to Galvanize. Cool. Stephen, were you in the chat that I did today, or the webinar that I did today on equity? I know they were promoting it pretty heavy on Eventbrite, but I wasn't sure if you were there in that call or not. Altran says, I'd love to live in Colorado, maybe the ISOs in my offer. Yeah, I mean, depending on the size of the company, like, depending on the age of the company and who leads the company. I mean, those are the key things. And I kind of talked about this in the webinar, like, what do I look for in a company to know if I'm going to invest my own money in the ISOs? Because RSUs are just tangible dollars, and Trash Dev can tell us all about RSUs, because I think your offer had RSUs for your new gig. But when it comes to ISOs, I look for who's leading the company. Are they good people? What's their background? Oh, I have a call from Washington. Excuse me, I'm going to go on mute for a sec. All right, I'm back. So yeah, so that's the job I really, really want. I tell you what I want. I've had that Spice Girls song like going through my head every time I talk about. I really, 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 really want this job. Yeah, that's Riker. That's my puppy. Come here, come here, come here. Everybody wants to say hi. Come here. Up. So this is Riker. He's my 100-pound British lab, and he's enormous. He's huge. You're bigger than big. Yes, you are. You're bigger than. No, don't do that to my microphone. Yeah. Hi. You being a good boy? What are you barking at up there? He was barking a minute ago. So that's the job that I really want. They basically want me to put a presentation together, 10 minutes long, of some really interesting topics that I won't go into detail. But they want me to do a 10-minute presentation followed by some Q&A, and I'm going to be presenting to 3 members of the team, and they're going to use that to make their final decision. So I'm like, 10-minute talk? That's all you want? And they said, yeah, we know that you're usually or you're usually used to coming up with like a public speaking kind of thing that's much, much longer. In fact, the thing I was supposed to do for Twilio today had to be 45 minutes long, including a bunch of live coding. This other company that I really want to work at, though, they don't want any live coding, but there are some very meaningful topics. So it's going to be really interesting to put together. It's not a teaching gig; it's developer relations. And so that and Twilio, they're both developer relations jobs, which are like going to conferences, giving talks, doing live streaming, things like that, which are all like right up my alley. So, I mean, I guess it is kind of teaching, really, when you think about it. I mean, as a developer relations, you're like teaching people like how to use products and how to, interact with them and interface into your existing software and stuff like that, but also just building community. And, so a lot of the jobs, like there's some sort of live streaming component or like going to tech conferences and giving talks, which I love doing. I'm really, really keen on doing that. So I'm happy to take either of those jobs. And then the job at Amazon is actually an AWS instructor job. And so if I get that job, I'll basically get paid to get as many AWS certifications as I can and know that content well enough to then actually go teach those classes so that other people can get their certifications. Which would be pretty sweet too. That would be a really neat gig. But I've got a handful of other jobs that I'm pretty interested in too, that I'm hoping to hear back from. But some of them are also kind of delaying things because of the holiday last week and short weeks and different things going on, different circumstances. So it's kind of a tough time of year to try to nail people down. And then with tech conferences being on, people are traveling to like reInvent this week and stuff like that. So it's kind of delaying other stuff going on. But this last presentation, I'm pretty hopeful for. Should be pretty cool. And they're basically like, when do you want to do it? And I'm like, when do you want me to do it? Like, I will literally move like whatever I can on my calendar. I can't move like my Amazon interview. But aside from that, I will move absolutely everything else on my schedule to accommodate this team because I really want their job. So we'll see how that plays out. I don't want to name them because I don't want to jinx it. But they're all a fantastic crew, and I would absolutely love to work with them. They're all really fantastic people. Like everyone that I've met and interacted with as part of the interview process, as well as just other people on the team, they're all like super quality people. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. And then let's see, if you're hanging out on the chat, I've also got a ton of these like 3D printed dragons that I'm giving away on the stream Thursday night in lots of different colors. And so we're going to be doing that Thursday. I've got my friend Josh, who I worked with at SendGrid in HR. And basically, we're just going to rapid fire like a whole bunch of resume reviews, like what he would look for from an HR perspective, and then what I would look for as a hiring manager perspective. Just like what stands out, what's good, what's bad, what do you need to change, and then we'll move on. We'll do a giveaway, and then we'll move on to the next one, kind of thing. And then with that. Yeah, we're just going to get through as many of them as we can. And then all the resumes that got submitted, I'm actually going to do a full stream afterwards, or maybe just some side recordings of like, this is what I would improve, like just really specifically drill down on what I like about the resume from an engineering hiring manager's perspective, what I like about the resume or what I would encourage change. But again, I always tell people, don't ever just listen to my advice. Like there are a lot of people out there that will give you advice. And I often say that advice in the tech industry is a lot like politics and religion, that you may sort of have a particular mindset, but if you open your perspective to what other people have to say, you can change your mind on things. But if you only listen to like one way of doing it, you think that's the only way it should be done. And that can be kind of a false way to do things in life, just in general. I think it's all about hearing other perspectives. And so as you hear other viewpoints, you can kind of like change and form your own. And so I often tell people when I do resume reviews, like, you don't have to do it the way I'm telling you to do it, but this is what I look for. Like, this is just my own bias as a hiring manager. This is what I bias towards when I'm looking at a resume. You can take it or leave it. You don't have to make your resume look like what I want it to be unless I'm the hiring manager for a job you're applying to. Then by all means, make it like what I want to look like, and I'm more likely to call you. But every hiring manager is going to look for different things. And so I always tell people, like, always look for other perspectives, always look for other ways of doing things. Don't ever just follow one person's advice, or you're going to be going down a bad path. And so Thursday, we're going to be doing just a bunch of those rapid fire resume reviews. I think we got almost a dozen resumes submitted, which is pretty cool. And so if you also want a resume review as part of that stream, here's a link in chat, techinterview.guide/streaming. There's a form on that page that you can upload. And do ask that you anonymize your name, your phone number, your email address. Like, you can leave them in place, but just anonymize them, change them to something else. And in between each of those, we're going to do like giveaways for these 3D printed dragons. And so that'll be pretty fun, but you will have to have an account on Twitch. So if you're watching this video on YouTube later, you will need to come back to Twitch, and that's happening December 2nd. So if it's past December 2nd, sorry, you missed out. But if you're watching this on YouTube, you will need to make a free account on Twitch, and you will need to be in the chat to participate with the giveaway, because there's like a bang like ticket or bang enter or something like that you do in chat to actually enter the giveaway. So you will actually need to participate live and kind of stick around for the chat and interact in chat and so on in order to potentially win a dragon. And then I'm going to get them shipped out like the next day. So I'm going to like box them all up and ship them out the next day, and hopefully get to you relatively quickly. And they're pretty lightweight, so it's not going to be like a big heavy box, but yeah, it'll be pretty fun to give those away. I'm looking forward to it. So in the meantime, a handful of other viewers showed up. Welcome to the stream. I'm just hanging out, offering kind of advice and perspective on tech interviews, career prep, all that kind of stuff, talking about my own job hunt that's going on, some of the interview stuff I've been kind of juggling through and working through. I was supposed to be doing an interview for Twilio right now, but they deferred it for me, so I'm waiting to hear back when that's going to happen. And then the job I really want just called, and they're hoping to schedule it for Friday, but we'll see. So basically I'm left like the rest of the week of like, all right, what do I do for the rest of the week? So I'll probably be streaming during the day a lot more than usual. Tomorrow's, well, yeah, technically tomorrow's my last day at the job where I've been. So I've wiped my laptop. It's ready to go back and whatever. So I'm going to drop all that stuff off either late tonight or tomorrow. Probably tomorrow. I have some mock interviews to do on interviewing.io. So if you're interested, I will put in some interviewing-io. So this is a referral link for interviewing.io. It's a mock interview platform. It is a paid platform, but there are some really quality folks on this platform. If you're looking for like professional level mock interview where they will give you actionable feedback on like, you did this well, you need to do this better, go check out interviewing.io. They don't pay me for that. They don't sponsor this by any means, but I do paid interviews on their platform, so they pay me to do interviews on their platform. I also do private coaching sessions through their platform, and so if you want me to do coaching with you for 3 sessions or 5 sessions, if you're kind of junior to intermediate level, you can pay for those and sign up for those. They will defer the payment as well, so if you're trying to get a job, they will defer the payment until you get a job. And I should have mentioned that before today, because yesterday for Cyber Monday they ended this thing where like if you prepay for a bunch of coaching sessions, then once you get the job they like refund all of those coaching sessions back to you or something like that. Or no, actually that's a standing offer that they have. If you go through their coaching thing and you get a job through them, they'll actually refund all the money that you pay for mock interviews. So yeah, it's a pretty neat thing. They're doing a lot of work on their platform to do some really cool stuff. And I've been chatting with them about a job over there too, so I'm waiting to hear back about that, because that would be pretty exciting. I've been an interviewer on their platform for over 4 years now, almost 4.5 years. Really quality crew over there. They're running a really neat platform. So if you're interested in doing mock interviews, go check them out. I used to have, I don't know whether this will still work or not, but you can, no, I guess I don't have, oh, there it is. So this is kind of a referral code or coupon code for Pramp, which is a free platform for doing mock interviews, but you get paired up with just some random person. And I think on their platform, you each get half an hour where you both play interviewer and candidate. So like if I were on there with Trash Dev, I would start out as the interviewer and they would answer a question for me, and then those roles reverse. And then now they're the interviewer and they're asking a question for me to solve. And I believe their platform gives you the question and gives you kind of the talking points and what to look for, and you know, sort of how to coach the person through if they're struggling. The problem with their platform is I don't think they pair you up based on level. And so I might end up getting on the platform with like a junior dev. And it's like, okay, well, are you going to be able to ask me a question that's going to challenge me enough, but then also be able to give me good enough feedback if you're not on the same level? Where, you know, I'm probably going to give you better feedback because I've been an interviewer, I've been a hiring manager. I'm going to give like really quality feedback to someone else. So that's the downside of the free platform, is you don't know who you're getting paired up with and whether the levels are going to match and what kind of feedback you're going to get, but they are free. And I think with my promo code there, you can get like unlimited free interviews. Otherwise, I think they cap you at like 5 interviews or something, but they also do other things too, where if you like, you know, tweet at them or like post on social media, I think they unlock like a bunch of extra interviews and stuff like that too. So you can check out those platforms if you want to do mock interviews. But if you want private coaching with me, you can do that through the Interviewing.io site, so you can use that referral code that I posted there. Let's see what else is going on. Got a lot of stuff going on with YouTube. I've been playing around with my Python script to actually chop up my longer Q&A videos for making YouTube shorts, and then I extract that audio and make a podcast out of it, and then I sandwich on like an intro and an outro and make thumbnails and all that kind of stuff. That's been pretty fun to work through. So I've been kind of refining that. I had kind of a janky Python script doing it, and I've been able to streamline that a little bit, and so I'm going to get that uploaded over the next couple of days, I think. Let's see what else is going on. I have my final round with Amazon coming up, and I'm nervous about that one. It's their Loop interview, which is all their leadership principles. And I actually posted on LinkedIn yesterday, and this was kind of interesting. I posted on LinkedIn, like, how many of you just straight up blatantly lied on an application or in an interview? And Trash Dev, I know that you're willing to kind of dive into that gray area a little bit. But me, myself, I'm not a big fan of like misrepresenting myself in an interview, and it's probably to my own detriment. But I did post a poll on LinkedIn yesterday about it. I want to try and find it here. There it is. And what's interesting is like 86 people have voted, and 5% of those people said that yes, they have like just straight up like absolutely lied during an interview to try to get a job. And I framed it like I'm not talking like a little like, you know, embellishment. I'm talking like just absolute like flat out like, no, this is absolutely not true. Like if you fact check this, you'll find out I've completely lied and probably not hire me. And so I thought it was kind of interesting that like a handful of folks actually admitted that yes, they've straight up lied. And so I made 3 options on the poll: yes, no, and like I'm just here to see the answers. And 22% of the people said I'm just here to see the results. I kind of want to suspect that those 22% of the people are probably like also lying in the interviews. They just didn't want to say yes, because they know that I can see who, like when you make a poll on LinkedIn, you can see who answered in what way. And so it's always interesting. Like I can go in and I can look at who voted yes, and I'm like, interesting. They voted yes, huh? All right. Mental note: don't hire them in the future. No, just kidding. They're all pretty quality people, but yeah, it's interesting having almost 100 votes on that already. I just posted it like a day ago, but yeah, it's really interesting to think about like with the leadership principle questions. I was talking to someone who worked at Amazon in the past, and they're like, oh yeah, I just straight up lied through most of those. Like they want like hard factual data, and it's like, I don't remember like what percentage of customers, you know, bandwidth, blah, blah, blah. Like I don't remember any of that stuff. So I just made stuff up, and like they can accept it or they can not accept it. Like, you know, it's like, well, I don't know that I could just make stuff up on the fly. Like I've always tried to, you know, have a good, honest, you know, work lifestyle with integrity and kind of build up a reputation for like, you can trust everything I say. I don't know about just like making stuff up for an interview like that. Trash Dev says I definitely made stuff up at some point. Yeah, and like I said, like it's one thing to like embellish a little bit. It's like, oh yeah, I've done that kind of stuff in Python before when you really haven't. But like that's completely different from like, oh yeah, I co-wrote the Python language or something. Like just like complete absolute lie kind of thing. Or like, they ask you about a project, tell me about a time when you just make something up off the top of your head. Like, oh yeah, I worked on this project and we increased customer throughput by 1200%, blah blah blah. Like I'm not good at lying. Like my wife will tell you I'm horrible at lying. I don't know that I can do that in an interview, to just make stuff up and be like that in an interview. Like I'm not that type. But that's just me. All 3 of my other dragons have finished. I'm gonna go grab them off the printer. Be right back. Well, 2 of them I can grab. The other one I have to like literally scrape. So I did another one in the red gold, and then another one in the red, gold, and charcoal. And this red, gold, charcoal one came out really, really nice. So it's got really nice kind of like gold burgundy on the belly, and then the spikes came out in gold on top. So just the way that the color transitioned, it actually worked out really, really great on this. And then the horns came out like bright gold as well. So yeah, this one might actually be my new favorite. I really, really like this filament. Like I reached out to the company that makes this filament, and I'm like, I will literally buy like 5 more spools of this stuff like immediately if you can tell me where I can buy it. They're like, it'll be back in stock in like 2 weeks. I'm like, I will buy like almost all of it. Not really. I might buy like a couple of spools. But like this red and gold one is also really cool. Like, unfortunately the lighting in here isn't great, but it's a really cool transition from like gold on the stomach into kind of this matte red on the spikes on the back. So these are really, really fantastic. I'll get some pictures of them and post them up on my Twitter feed later on. So yeah, so I'm really excited to like give all these things away in the stream Thursday night. It's gonna be pretty fun. So tell your friends. Like I really want like a ton of people to come by and hang out on that stream. So it's Dennis. It is Dennis or Denis. Thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Denis. Having studied French, I would pronounce that Denis. But if that's not how I pronounce your name, I apologize. But you really want one of these, Chris? I'll send you one. DM me on LinkedIn. I'll send you one. So folks that do live streaming, I'm like happy to support. So I will send you one. Do you want one in the charcoal, gold, and red, or do you want the red and gold? I'll just send you one of these. So DM me on LinkedIn. Send me your well, I guess send me what your new address is. If I send it to your old one, you're not going to get it. So send me your new address and I'll ship one out. I also got a really cool one. It's in kind of this crystal blue with a bit of a sparkle. That's the one on the other printer that I have to like pry off. That one will take a minute. How do you win the treasure? Carmen, good to see you. So to win a dragon, you need to hang out on the stream Thursday night. Thursday night, we're doing a bunch of resume reviews, and in between all the resume reviews, we're just going to be drawing from a giveaway. And so you will need to be on the call Thursday night. So good to see you, Carmen. How's your week going? Anything exciting in your world? Usual time, 7 p.m. Mountain, so 6 p.m. East or 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. And we'll be doing giveaways like the whole night. And so I've got a whole bunch of them in like rainbow filaments. I got like rainbow filament and black shiny filament and like all kinds of them printed up. And so I'm gonna have probably close to a dozen of them to give away. I was only gonna do 5, but the more I print them out, the more I'm like, these are really cool. I need to like just keep cranking these things out. So it is Tuesday. I will get one more set of 3 dragons to add to the pool. Some of them are smaller than others, and the small ones I'm probably gonna do like the little horse figurines. So I've got horses, unicorns, Pegasus, and Pegasus unicorns, little figurines that are also articulated, so their joints move and things like that. They don't look nearly as cool as the dragons, but for the smaller dragons, I'm gonna throw like a bunch of those in. And then I've also got all the snowflakes that I've been printing too. So I'll probably throw in some snowflake ornaments, regular size, but I've also been like super sizing them as well to go on the wall back there. So I'll probably throw in a handful of these like smaller snowflake ornaments, and I've got these in all different colors, like kind of a cool blue sparkle, one with a purple sparkle, one that's like a, well, I actually did some in the red and gold filament. That looks kind of neat. It's kind of this transition between the red and the gold. And so I'll probably be throwing a bunch of those in the boxes as well. So Jen and you may be streaming at that time. Well, come by my stream. You can come by my stream. Your app is launching soon. Sweet. Can't wait to hear more about that. So Jen that Carmen is referencing is the Jen that I mentioned earlier. We were talking about Jen's job hunt, Carmen, and how, had her on the stream here, and we were talking about her job hunt with, applying at a bunch of places and getting ghosted, and then putting some online profiles up and people noticing her. Like, how do you be discoverable? Like, how do you get found? And how Jen ended up with like a ton of job offers there. So someone else in chat, Eltran32, mentioned like they were going through the whole interview thing, and based on like 200 interviews, got 2 offers out of that. Yeah, and how much of a badass wizard she is. Yeah, she's pretty incredible for going through all that and like trying to pack all of that stuff in just a short amount of time and just going all in on interviews. Thank goodness for remote work, where you can like do remote interviews and like do your work on the side, instead of the other way around and trying to like interview in the evenings and stuff like that. But yeah, it's pretty interesting for sure. Someone else connecting from the equity talk that I did. So I'm just going to send them a hello, and that I'm streaming online right now if they want to drop by. Yeah, so one of the things that I mentioned in the meetup that, or the webinar that I did this afternoon on equity that really stood out to them, they were asking like, how do I get a job? Like, how do we get noticed? And I said, well, like networking is like going to be one of the best ways to go get a job. And the best way to do that is meetups, like go give a lightning talk. But if you don't want to give a lightning talk, going to a meetup is good, but they're called meetups, not show-ups. You have to actually go to meet people. And like, chat didn't blow up or anything like that, but a bunch of people are like, oh, that's really good advice. Like, haha, meet up, not show up. It's like, yeah, you're going to remember that one now. Like, it's called meet up, not show up. You can't just show up to learn things. Like, you're there to meet people. So meet people. Oh, you went to the virtual coffee thing. Yeah, their hangouts are really cool. I've missed several of them just because of the job hunt and trying to wrap up at the current job and all kind of stuff. I've actually missed several, so I'm looking forward to getting back in on some of those pretty soon. But virtual coffee is a really cool developer kind of and non-dev sort of community. They are Slack based right now. I would love to see them move to Discord myself. I think Discord's going to be more of a community based platform, I think, going forward. Trash Dev, who's on the chat, they use Discord. Handful of other folks that like Midnight Simon that I've been following on Twitch. He's got Discord. So I think it's going to be just better for community because you don't have that message limit of like, oh, you can only have like 10,000 messages. And I know Virtual Coffee is facing some of that too. But yeah, virtualcoffee.io. So hopefully, or Carmen, are you saying they are on Discord? I thought they were only on Slack. But Virtual Coffee is a great group. They have regular sort of like virtual coffees, thus the name. They do one like super early Tuesday morning, and then one a little bit later Thursday morning. Oh yeah, you wish they were in Discord too. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, if you're hanging out in chat, if you got questions about like interview prep, career prep, job hunt kind of stuff, if you just want to commiserate about interviewing, I'm happy to do that too because I'm in the throes of job interview and job hunt myself. But it's going pretty well. I'm down to some final rounds with some companies that I'm pretty excited about. So we'll see how that goes. I think Carmen knows the one job that I really, really want. But please don't spoil it in chat because I'm not saying their name. I don't want to jinx it. But I really want them to hurry up and schedule my last round because I want a job with them. But we'll see how that plays out. See. So yeah, if you got other questions, feel free to drop those in chat. I love just having interactive chat kind of as we go. Aside from that, happy to just have followers. I'm not doing this for money, so don't bother like subscribing or donating bits or anything like that. If you want to, you can, but like, I'm not doing this to make money by any means. How do you level up from a junior dev in your current company, or is it better to apply to different companies? Oh, that's a good question. That one's kind of loaded, and I will start my answer with my usual, it depends. If you really like the company where you're at, then it's worth leveling up at your current company. If you like them, if you like the people that you work with, and they're willing to help you and make those opportunities for you to grow, I would stay there. I would stay there and try to find ways of growing. If you reach a limit, though, to where you feel that they can't make those opportunities, or you want to grow in an area where that company can't make those opportunities happen, then you do need to change your job and you do need to find somewhere else. So like, let's use Carmen as an example. So Carmen's like front-end dev. Let's say Carmen wants to get into mobile app development and wants to make like mobile games. Like, you want to go all in on that. Well, you can go learn that kind of stuff on the side. But if your company doesn't do mobile development or gaming of any kind, it's going to be way harder for you to find that opportunity at your current company. And so leveling up, especially as a junior dev, I've been telling people on the stream lately, like, your first job is not going to be your dream job. Like, it's very rarely going to be like, oh, this is exactly what I wanted to be doing with my life. It's pretty unlikely that that's going to happen. Not impossible, but pretty unlikely. That first job, actually the first probably 2 or 3 jobs, are probably just going to be stepping stones while you figure out the tech industry in the first place. Like, what kind of job do you even want in tech? What kind of company? What size of company? In some regards, it's a little bit like dating. Like, who do you want to date? Well, you don't really know until you get out and start dating people. Like, you can sit around, you can kind of like daydream about, I want to, date this kind of person. But at the end of the day, until you actually start dating people, like, that's when you really start refining what you want, what you don't want. And it can be like that with work too. And so as you get those first couple of jobs, you're going to start to understand, like, okay, maybe I want this size of company. Maybe I want this kind of salary. Maybe I want this kind of responsibility. Maybe I don't want this kind of environment. You're going to start to refine that criteria over time. And so you may not end up in like a dream job or a dream scenario until several years into your career. And I think that that's okay. I think as long as you can kind of tough it out and just have a mindset of like, it's okay. I'm just here to learn. I'm here to grow as much as I can. And at these first couple of jobs, you're going to hop and you're going to find different ways of understanding like what you're looking for and realize what you like about things, what you don't like about things. Do you like the tech stack? Do you want a different tech stack? Do you want a particular kind of company? All those kinds of things. All of these are considerations. So how do you level up? I mean, a lot of it is, what are your interests? And your interests are going to be really fleeting early in your career too, because there's so much you can go learn. It's like, ooh, I want to learn this. I want to learn this. Ooh, shiny. Look at this thing over here. Oh, now I want to go study this. And I think that that's okay too. But at some point you need to kind of like rein that in and go, okay, this is where I want to take my career. Because being a generalist is fine. It's a great way to kind of run your career. But even while being a generalist, you still need to be able to focus enough to say, this is roughly the path that I want to take while I go learn like all these other things on the fringe. But these are the core competencies that I want to have later in my career. For me, for example, I've been feeling kind of the itch lately of, I really want to get back into architecture and get back into like scalability and things like that. This next job that I get, whatever that job is, I'm going to be starting to study a lot more on the side about cloud architecture, cloud scale, and like on multiple platforms. So I'm not just going to go all in on AWS, or I'm not going to go all in on Azure or Google Cloud. Like, I'm going to learn a little bit of all of them, and I'm going to start getting some certifications because I want to get back into that architecture side of things. And then to be an expert in 2 high-level languages and 1 low-level language. That's basically how I'm refining my career at this point in life, to where like that's going to take me to retirement. So I'm going to be like a high-level architect, and I'm going to be an expert on a handful of languages, and that'll allow me to prototype things and then sort of like stay in more of those like director level roles or like principal staff engineer level roles eventually. I mean, this next job, I want to stay for like several years. Like I'm going all in on whatever this next job is going to be for like 3 to 5 years. That's my goal. But while I'm doing that, I'm going to be like ramping up and preparing for what that next opportunity is going to be, and whether that's being a founder, or just being somebody else's CTO, like whatever that's going to be. I'm going to have a lot of options at that point. And so how you level up depends a lot on where you want to take your career, but you're really not going to know that until you've had exposure to a lot of things in your career. Once you've had that exposure, it's a lot easier to make that decision. And then you'll be able to figure out, okay, well, now that I know I want to get from here to here, how do I get there? Same as planning a road trip. If I want to go from here to California, what route do I need to take? What's the best route based on what I want to do along the way? If I just want to, get to California as fast as possible, I'm just going to pick whatever the shortest route is. But if I want to see some scenery and I want to explore some things, like do I go through Utah and stop at some national parks? Do I go down through New Mexico and just like cut through the desert? Like I'm going to have a lot of options there. And so a lot of that is going to depend a lot on how I want to do that journey as well. And so I think early in your career, you're going to have opportunity to explore a lot of different things and try a lot of different things, and that's totally fine. And then from there, you'll start to understand like how you should level up, or what kinds of things you're going to need to learn in order to level yourself up. Now, if you're on the job and you want to level up, again, talk to your manager, talk to your team and say, I want to grow. I want to learn about optimization. I want to learn how to make this thing faster. Or I want to learn what our deployment process is. Or I want to learn, like, is there another way that we could be deploying this stuff? Or is there another way that we could fill in the blank? And see if they'll make those opportunities for you. And then as you explore those things, you go, yeah, you know what? Maybe I don't want DevOps after all. And you know what? Maybe I don't like working with like low-level database stuff right now. That's fine. That's totally okay. You're allowed to change your mind early in your career. So that's where I would take that. Hopefully that answered without rambling too much. So I just got to mute for 1 sec. I'll be right back. Yeah, no worries. My kids are home from school, so I'm just letting them know like they can talk and be on their video games, and my mic isn't going to pick up their audio. Cool. Thanks for the question, Carmen. So Carmen, what are you and Jen streaming about these days? Is that like a regular thing? Because I don't think I've seen notifications that you've been streaming. Are you doing it on Twitch? And what kind of stuff are you streaming about? Are you like, is it about this app that you're building, or is that like just the app at work? Kind of curious what kind of stuff you're getting into on your stream. I always love hanging out on other people's streams and help support other people. Streaming your open source project. Oh, during Hacktoberfest. Oh, sweet. That's cool. I think I missed like 100% of those streams. Sorry. I was kind of like really heads down trying to figure out my work and my job and job hunt and interviews and all that stuff. So sorry, I usually love to hang out on my friends' streams and support them. Cool. Well, if there are other questions in chat, by all means, drop some questions. I'm happy to kind of share my thoughts and perspectives on things, interview related, job related, career related, tech industry related, programming, all that good stuff. Now we want to go back and stream the process and life cycle of building and maintaining an open source app. That's really cool. We almost got into that at my current job. We were talking about like producing some video on making like a front end and a back end of an application, and how we were going to record like, okay, well, this is how I'm going to build the back end. This is how you're going to build the front end. But we were still going to have to record some like pair programming of how do we make these things work together. And I also had the idea of, well, what if we also stream like the preparation of how do we even plan what it is we're going to build? Partly from a developer relations point of view, but also just partly just to show like, hey, as a company, this is how we're going to like work together and collaborate together, come up with an idea. How are we going to plan it out? How are we going to decide who has what responsibilities? And unfortunately, it just got delayed, and it got kind of got deferred for a little bit. I mean, for some good reasons. There were some good reasons why that I can't really speak to, but yeah, for reasons we just never got around to doing the planning, much less the execution of it. So hopefully they still kind of work through that. I think it'd be really interesting to see like, this is how as a team we're going to build this little open source app and like collaborate on how we're going to build the pieces, and then how do we film like pairing together to make sure that they're working properly, and do I need to go tweak something on the back end because you need it slightly differently on the front end, all that kind of stuff. I think that that'd be a really interesting thing. So hearing about like what you're going to be streaming about for like building that whole app and maintaining it, I think is really great, especially for the maintaining. Like how do you look at contributions coming in and decide like this is a good contribution, this one I need to push back on, all that kind of stuff. So on Jen's channel on Twitch, sweet. Why you gotta stream on the night that I stream? Come on, I want to be there too. Although I only stream for like an hour and a half. Although this Thursday I think it's going to go a little bit longer because I'm doing the giveaway, so we might be streaming a little longer than usual. But yeah, we'll be streaming at 7 p.m. and probably go for 2 hours. But if we're done, I'll try to raid your channel if you're still streaming. But I'll have to keep an eye on what you got going on. And then yeah, I talked last stream, so Sunday, I talked about how I want to start streaming more during the day. Like even today's stream, like I've been streaming for how long now? About an hour and a half right now. I think I've had more viewers in this stream than I had on Sunday. And so I think streaming during the day might make more sense. So I might keep one of the evening streams and then move the other one during the day. I don't know, we'll see. It's going to depend a lot on the job. The job that I really, really want, live streaming is actually part of the job, which is pretty cool. Some of the other jobs that I want live streaming is like, oh, it would be cool if. But the job I really want, they're like, you will be live streaming. I'm like, sweet, can't wait. So I'm hoping they get back to me soon. Tentative maybe starting this week, not sure. If not, definitely come by my stream. Sweet. Yeah. Yeah, I'm a big fan lately of just hanging out on other people's streams just to give them the viewership and like drop in some chat notes and stuff like that to help people get towards like the different like status levels on Twitch. They've got like the next one that I have to do is really interesting. You've got to stream on 12 different days, and it's got to be like 25 hours of content, but you also need an average viewer level of like 75 viewers like over that period of time. And every time that they would send me that recap at the end of the day, like the numbers always changed, and it took a while to realize because they didn't actually document it in the message. Like it's a moving 30-day window. And so over a 30-day window, you have to have 25 hours of content on 12 different days with an average viewership of 75 people in order to hit that next tier. And I mean, I'm never going to hit that. I never have an average of 75 viewers, much less do that over the span of like, 25 hours of content. So I've got to have some pretty compelling content to have that many viewers. So I don't know, we'll see. Maybe I should do some of my webinars on Twitch, like, do the full talk about equity and things like that and just really promote it and blow it up or something. I don't know. I'm not good at marketing. I'm not good at marketing myself and promoting things like that. But we'll see. We'll see how that plays out over time, I think. Cool. Let's see what else is going on my schedule. Still waiting to hear back about a few other things, but none of that's coming through yet. Seeing some text responses about some of the interviews that I have left going on. They're like, whoa, you got to do how many hours of behavioral questions? So the final round of Amazon interviews that I have, it's what they call their leadership principles. And they basically told me to prepare for 4 to 5 hours of interviews where they basically ask you behavioral questions about these 14 leadership principles that they publish. They're happy to talk about. And basically you have to come up with answers for all of them, but you're only allowed to talk about a project twice over the whole span of that 4 or 5 hours. So you're not allowed to repeat the same answer like over and over and over and over, even if it's applicable to the question that they're asking. They want to know that you've got like a breadth of experience, I guess, to be able to answer some of these questions, which is going to be a little bit hard for me. I mean, I've been doing this for a long time, but like I got to really like scratch my head and try to remember stories and like how it impacted customers and like, how much did it impact customers and things like that. So from what I've been studying about these questions, the answer has to be very customer centric. And it has to be like a lot of self-promotion, like I did the following thing, or I took responsibility for this thing, and this was the impact that it had on a customer. but it's got to be like hard data. Like you've got to like get down into percentages or times. Like I reduced this thing by 5 milliseconds and it had like a 1200%, you know, impact on blah, blah, blah. So it'll be interesting to like try to come up with questions or answers, I guess, for some of the questions, because I don't know the actual questions. I just know the themes of these leadership principles, and then have to try to guess from there, like what kind of question might they ask to come up with stories and so on. Viable Clan member asks in chat, what's the difference between Scrum and Agile? Agile as a methodology it's actually a whole bunch of things. And it's basically the feedback loop of try something, get some feedback, iterate on that feedback, and then like continue that process. And so it has what they call 12 pillars of sort of the Agile manifesto that you can go read. And it's a whole bunch of things like, you know, what's more important than something else. And I don't even remember half of them. Scrum is kind of like the daily stand-up meeting of how are we checking in with one another to avoid blockage on the team. And so when I was part of a lot of Scrum meetings at previous companies, at one point I was on a team of like 20 plus people, and that stand-up meeting was actually kind of painful in the morning of just standing around like, what did you work on yesterday? What are you working on today? What did you work on yesterday? What are you working on today? Now, how about you? What did you work on yesterday? What are you working on? And that gets boring after a while. And so when I left that job and I became a director of engineering, I told my team like, hey, I want to do stand-up meetings, but we're not doing this mundane, like, what did you work on yesterday? What are you working on today? Like, just tell me, are you blocked on anything? Like, do you have a question that you can ask that someone else on the team can answer while we're all here and you've got everybody's attention? And so it really, like that sort of stand-up meeting or the Scrum, it got its name from rugby, where like everybody's like huddled up and you're like kind of making a game plan. And so that's how Scrum got its name. But Scrum isn't like a whole methodology. It's just one piece of how you can do your job. And Scrum got really popular to work with Agile. And so in some circles, people think that they're actually like kind of the same thing. But Scrum is like something that you can add to your Agile process. And so my Scrum meetings basically became, what are you blocked on? What do you need help with today? And if you don't need help, like just, is there something that you can offer help with? And so it became more of just a check-in of like, where are you stuck and who can help you with that? And because my job as a director or as a manager is to help unblock my team so they can be as efficient as possible. And so I changed what my Scrum meeting was all about. But a lot of companies that you go to, they're going to run their stand-up as like, what did you work on yesterday? What are you working on today? And then maybe like, are you stuck on anything? Or they're just like any kind of questions, you know, for the whole team. But the bigger the team gets, the longer that meeting really plays out. I actually found a really funny picture one time of one tech company that decided that their Scrum meetings were going too long. And so they made everybody get down on the floor in a plank position where you're just kind of like resting yourself on your forearms and your elbows and your toes and like planking your body. And you basically had to hold that pose until the meeting was over. And so that just encouraged everybody to make for a really fast meeting of like, I got nothing to say. All right, good, we're done. But I mean, at the same time, you get a pretty good workout, you know, just from like holding all your core muscles into that pose for, you know, 30 seconds or a minute at a time. Can be a long time. But yeah, I'm a big believer in just like have as few meetings as possible and make them as productive as possible. Like if people aren't enjoying the meeting, why are you having the meeting? And some companies will do it just for the ritual of it, of just like, hey, we're all getting together and we're all just checking in just to see how we're doing as a team. It's like, well, that's fine if you want to do like a team check-in, but that shouldn't be like how you start your day, especially in a remote world where everybody's starting at different times of the day. Not everyone's going to be online at the exact same time. And so figuring out, can I do any of this asynchronously can be important. But also, you know, if Carmen is blocked on something and reaches out to me and I help Carmen solve that problem, if that's not a conversation that others can hear, then that's not sharing knowledge. And I'm also a big fan of like share what we know. And so I appreciate that Scrum meeting for just sharing that knowledge of like, oh, you need help unblocking that? Maybe try this, maybe try that. Hit me up if you need other help. And now other people have heard that answer. They've heard the question, they've heard the answer. Now, if they get stuck on that, A, they know I'm the person to go ask. And B, they kind of already have some steps that they can take to solve that next time. So Scrum, yeah, is generally just that stand-up meeting. And sometimes you'll hear of it as just like daily stand-up, or daily check-in kind of thing. But Scrum, as I understand it, is just, kind of that huddle up of like, what's the plan? Like, what's the next immediate plan? It's not the whole elaborate thing where Agile is all about how do we plan the work that we're doing? What's our velocity of that work? Like how much work is the team producing over time? And that's what they call velocity. And then how does that velocity change over time? How are you taking feedback from the company and the stakeholders and the customers? And how are you getting that feedback wrapped into, what you're working on next? Do we need to go back and refine something? Do we need to push back on other things? That's more the Agile process. But like I said, a lot of companies do them together, and so they think they're kind of the same, and it can lead to confusion over like, are we doing Scrum or are we doing Agile? It's like, well, you're doing both. Kanban is a slightly different. It's kind of a variation of Agile, but Kanban you can also have like a daily stand-up, and so you can have Scrum with Kanban if you want as well. There's also a methodology called Lean programming, Lean, and Lean programming is basically like, you can have a plan of all these things, but if it starts getting in the way, get rid of it. Like if that daily stand-up isn't helping anybody, get rid of it. And so the whole manifesto about lean programming is like, do whatever it takes to make the team as efficient as possible. And if that means adding process, then add a process. If it means removing a process, then remove a process. That's the whole idea of lean, is that you only have exactly what you need. Where Agile, they're a little more rigid on like, you must do the following kind of rituals. Like, you have like a backlog grooming where you're like trying to figure out what do we prioritize next. You plan everything out in a sprint for like a duration of work. And then at the end of that sprint, you have a retrospective and maybe a demo of some kind. So if you're like strictly following Agile, you got all these other meetings of like, how are we planning what we're starting for the next sprint? We've got, all these check-ins along the way. We've got maybe like a mid-sprint like check-in of like, are we going to hit everything we committed to doing? And then at the end, we have a retrospective on like, how did that sprint go? Do we need to change anything to do differently to try next time? Or what kind of feedback are we getting to kind of wrap that kind of stuff in? And then you're supposed to demo like, hey, as a company, just want to show off what we did as a team. And it's meant to like congratulate the team and to show progress on things. But a lot of people are like, do we really have to demo? Like the company knows that we're working on this thing. Can we not just release the code? Especially in today, where we're doing a lot of continuous integration, continuous deployment, like CI/CD kind of stuff, you're just constantly deploying that code. And so I'm not going to spend time like putting together a demo of like, what was that thing that we deployed last Tuesday that's been out for 3 weeks now? Like, like what was all of that, to try to put all that together into like a formalized demo of like, okay, up next we've got Carmen's going to show off this or that feature. It's like, just put out like a change log to the company and say, this is what we've done. If you want to see it, you can go log in and you can see it for yourself in action, or like ask us questions about it, but like it doesn't have to be a formal meeting. And so I always kind of took the approach of like, we'll do Agile, but we're going to apply some lean programming principles of just, we'll do as much Agile as makes sense. But as soon as it starts to become a burden on my team, I'm getting rid of it, because I'm all about freeing up my team to be as effective and efficient as possible. And so I'm going to trim out whatever I need to make that happen, because that's my job. As kind of the manager and director, is like, it's my job to unblock you, to find you answers to things, and to make you as efficient as possible. That's my take on it anyway. Visible or Viable Clan member asks, is Agile basically a waterfall per ticket? That's an interesting way of thinking about it. I mean, the waterfall process is like, you plan everything to a really fine degree, and then you just go execute on that thing, and then when you're done, you release it. It's actually a really interesting way to think about it. Is Agile just waterfall like per ticket? I mean, maybe. I mean, it depends. It depends a little bit. I think there's supposed to be freedom in development. Like there's supposed to be some level of autonomy. And I think that Agile really plays into the idea of autonomy of like, I don't care how you get this done. We need this done. Where waterfall is like very clearly defining how you're going to get things done and when it's going to be done, and what sort of like, QA and debugging process you're going to do, and how you're going to test afterwards to make sure everything worked well together. Like that's all part of your waterfall. But waterfall, because it can be very document driven, you're defining exactly how you're going to go build it. Where in Agile, it's just like, hey, like I need to go change the font on my techinterview.guide website. So I don't care how you do it. I just need the font changed, or I need the color changed, or I need, some new feature. I don't care how you build that resume upload thing. If you want a resume review, by the way, I'm doing resume reviews on Thursday. If you want a free resume review, go ahead and upload a resume for me. I don't care how you build the form. I just need a form that I can upload a file and have that emailed to me, have it show up in my inbox. I don't care how you do it. Where a waterfall is like, this is exactly what we're going to do. These are the fields we're going to have on the form. This is how we're going to transport that file. This is the carrier, like the email carrier that we're going to use. This is what we expect the final email to look like. It's like, well, in Agile, it's just like, I don't care how you do it. Just get it done. Like it's not the how, it's the what. Where waterfall is more of the how, I think. So I wouldn't. It's an interesting way to think about it though. Like you are basically following a process per ticket, but I don't think it's as rigid as what waterfall would be. Good question though. Thanks for asking. I love things that make me go and think on stuff like that. It's great. Yeah, you're welcome. No problem. Cool. Let's see. What time is it? It's 4 o'clock. What else do I have going on today? I got a mock interview at 7. I got to make dinner for the family. I should probably go. I want to do rice. What do I want to make? Making salmon for dinner. I'm trying to figure out what I want to make with salmon. I think I got some asparagus left over. I think we'll do salmon and asparagus, so I'm not going to bother making rice. All right. Dinner's planned. Cool. Got some time to kill. So what else is going on with everybody? Anybody else got job interviews coming up? Anybody else going through interview preparation? You want to ask questions about it or commiserate about how lousy the tech interview realm is these days? Happy to chat about any of that if anybody's got questions or anything I can help with along the way. I should probably log into Slack and see what else is going on in Slack these days. Not much else going on the Slack side of things. Hey Dota, good to see you in chat. You're lurking. That's cool. Looking at Angular again. I haven't looked at Angular since like it first came out. And I was really intrigued by Angular and I dabbled with it a tiny bit and then I kind of put it aside. And it's like, I've never been good at like front-end frameworks. I'm used to having like full-blown back-end frameworks that do all the things. And so to get into these modular front-end things that aren't like full MVC, they're like, they're kind of views and controllers, but the model is really just fetching data from a back-end. Like just wrapping my head around some of that just it's kind of mind-bendy for me. But I really need to get back into front-end stuff. Like I haven't touched React a bit. Like I don't know anything about React other than it's like a component-based framework. I know nothing about it. Well, other than the fact that if you build a social network with it, Facebook is going to sue you, but that's about all I know about React. I'll try and ask a good long question in chat, so let's break this one down. One question asked in an interview that I don't think I'll ever forget. Oh, I love these. There are millions of transactions happening every minute within American Express, and you're the on-call engineer, and the service goes down in the middle of the night, and you have 15 minutes to fix the problem before you incur a huge financial fee from a client. How do you fix it? I would start by calling everybody I knew to say, get on this, thing and triage it with me. The process that I followed at several jobs, if somebody was on call, it wasn't necessarily their job to fix it. It was their job to triage, which meant get other people involved. Like who needs to be woken up to help you with this? It wasn't necessarily your job to fix. And followed up with, I just got out of boot camp. They exposed like what you know and what you don't know for sure. Millions of transactions. So I mean, a lot of big companies, they can put dollar value on downtime. Like they literally have it down to a point where like if Amazon goes down, they can literally put a dollar value for every second of delay that happens, or probably down to a millisecond. Like if we build this page in this way and it incurs like a 5 millisecond delay, it's going to cost us X dollars in commerce, because users just don't want to wait. They want everything to be super instant. And if it's not instant, they're going to go somewhere else. Amazon's pretty sticky though, so I don't think they have to worry quite as much about it, being the behemoth that they are. They know that customers are there to shop on Amazon because of the convenience of the shipping and Prime and all that kind of stuff. But when it comes to, Viable says just reboot everything. That's probably not too far from wrong. What would you do? I mean, if you got 15 minutes, the service goes down or you get a financial hit. That's a good question. I would start by like figuring out, okay, well, what part of the system broke? And is that something where literally we can just restart it and it's back again? But how do we detect which part of the system it is? Because something like American Express, it's going to be like a whole bunch of systems all working in tandem, and understanding where something broke is a big part of it. And then why did that thing break? Well, you can't figure out the why until you figure out the what. And so general debugging that we would do is we would try to look at logs and say, okay, well, what reported the error, and then work backwards from there until you see like a successful log. And then we knew kind of like where the failure started to happen. From there, then we would get into a process that we called the 5 whys. Like, why did that happen? And so you can say, well, it happened because, this service went down. Okay, well, why did that happen? Okay, well, it went down because there was a memory leak. Okay, why did that happen? Well, there was a memory leak because we released some code that, was unpatched or blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, why did that happen? It's like, okay, well, somebody wasn't up to speed on like core engineering, or they looped in some new version of a library that didn't get vetted. It's like, okay, now we have a root cause as to why all this happened. Now we can go fix it. Now we can just roll back that change, see if that impacts other things, and then we'll push that out. And so that would generally be the process that we would follow, but it wouldn't just be ever one person doing all of that, especially in a system as big as American Express. So it's a little bit unfair to ask a junior dev that kind of question. Like, you literally have no tech experience to ask you a question like that. But at the same time, my job as an interviewer is to find out what you know and what you don't know. Like, maybe you took some classes on what to do in that kind of situation. My job is just to assess, like, have you had experience in that? Can you think outside the box a little bit? Could you imagine what that, stress level would be like, and what that scenario would be like if you had to go through and like follow those kinds of things? Viable clan member redeemed a dad joke. I have a dad joke, but you kind of have to like write it down to understand it. So I'll type that one out in a minute, but I'll tell another one. You know why it's so much cheaper to have a party at a haunted house? Because the ghosts bring all the booze. And I'll write one out in chat too, because this one's pretty funny. If I ever find a plastic surgeon who messed up my limb replacement, I'm going to kill them with my bare hands. Bare hands. So that's like one of my other favorite ones right now. So Eltran said I would try to reproduce the error and then it's all hands on deck. Yeah, I think that what they wanted to hear is fix it temporarily. Yeah, find a permanent solution later. I mean, what does a temporary fix mean though? Because if you're inexperienced, like, yeah, you can go in, you can like hot patch something, but how do you know what to find? Like, how do you know what to fix? So, you've got to go through the process of figuring out what broke. And then is it something that you can just hot fix in production and then like look at later? Or is this something that's like really broken and we actually need to take that thing offline? It's a consideration that you have to make as a team. It's not really up to one person. So that, again, that would be one thing where you triage it and you start getting other people involved to help find the problem. Meanwhile, you're also calling a manager or some, upper management level saying, this thing broke, we're going to hit this financial risk. Somebody needs to get on the phone with that customer, let them know what's going on, let them know that we're in the middle of triaging it. And just be really open about the communication, about, be transparent about what that process is, what you're finding as you find it, and then follow up with your customers and say, hey, we had this outage, this is what happened, this was the impact, this is how we fixed it, sorry, it won't happen again. And then figure out, like, is that something that we could have written like software tests to have caught? Is there something in our QA process that didn't catch that? Is there a way that we can improve that in the future? Like these are the kinds of things that kind of go into like what we call a post-mortem, or like, from an autopsy, basically after something dies, like how do you figure out what happened? These are all things that you would kind of work through of like, okay, why did that happen? How do you prevent it from happening again? So Viable Clan member says, 1, check the status page for all third-party services that provide the service. Yeah. And then check everything that's running with PS command. Yep. Get a reproduction curl command, reboot, and then escalate. Maybe. So yeah, I mean, if they're really looking for like, how would you change it, or how would you like sort of fix it in production? That's a tricky one to answer. Not everyone's going to have experience and exposure to doing that kind of stuff. Sorry for the noise. I'm just cracking this one off the build plate so I can start another round of dragons for Thursday. So yeah, it's pretty great. These things just kind of pop off the plate from there and just immediately move. So these things are pretty great. Having these flexible steel plates for 3D printing are really fantastic as well. Cool. Keep the questions coming. I'm happy to hang out for a little bit. I am probably going to have to leave in about a half hour and start making dinner for me and the kids. But yeah, let me know if you got other questions along the way. I'm going to go start some prints, so I'll be back in just a minute. All right. Cool. Got 2 more dragons going. I got one in the red rust and the other in the black, red, gold filaments. So we'll have another one that looks kind of like this guy. Another one that looks kind of like this guy. So we'll have more of those to print and give away as well. And then I've got the blue sparkly one on the Creality printer, but that one I actually have to get like a little scraper tool and like scrape it off and restart that. So I'll do that one after the stream. I'll try and ask in chat, can you describe one of the craziest experiences you've had in my career? Ooh, define crazy. I've had some that are like not safe for work. Crazy experiences. So I used to work at SendGrid, and SendGrid used to have like company-wide retreats. So they would literally fly people from the company from around the world to Mexico. Most of us were in the domestic United States, but we had a couple of teams. Like we had a consultation team in Romania that we used, and we had developer advocates literally around the world. And so we would fly everybody to Mexico. And I think the first year we were in starts with a C, and now I can't remember. Cancun. We went to Cancun the first year. I think Puerto Vallarta the second year. And I forget where we went the third year. But literally every year that we went, somebody had way too much to drink and got involved in antics that were unprofessional. I will leave it at that. And so like literally every trip, like we would get back from the trip and somebody had lost their job, or several persons had lost their job for engaging in activities that were unbecoming an employee of the company, which is unfortunate, but it happened every year. It literally happened every year. I didn't go the fourth year. I forget why. I think I just got tired of like not being able to take my wife and kids, to be honest. I mean, it's as fun as it is to like get away and hang out with everybody. And it was like a retreat where we had like business meetings and talking about like the next year's goals and stuff like that. Like it was a fun trip, but it really was just a lot of like sitting around and drinking like for several days straight, but it was fun. It was that. I worked at a startup where the CEO, I think, divorced his wife and got involved in, affairs with others on the team. I worked at one company where the CEO didn't think that we were working hard enough and fast enough, and so he basically declared to the engineering team, I'm going to go home this weekend and learn PHP so that I can come in on Monday and help you code. And we're like, yeah, all right, you're just going to go learn software development over a weekend so you can help us code. All right, cool. What else? I worked with one guy that was like super, super incredibly toxic. And I put up with his antics because it was right after a .com bust. And if I quit that job, I wouldn't have found another job. And so I had to put up with a bunch of crap for many, many years. And I was happy to walk away from that job. What are some other crazy experiences I've had? I talk a lot about like this one job where I literally worked 90 hours a week for like 13 months straight. That one was hard for a lot of reasons. Had our first kid while I was at that job, and I missed most of the first year of his life because I was always working. I really wish I knew about test-driven development at that job. I would have saved myself a lot of headache. What are some other crazy things going on? I've had my job threatened, but I've never been fired. I've had like companies just straight up go out of business. Usually I see, like I never took a job where I knew the company was failing. But I did take a job and then realize the company was failing and then like bounce back out of that job. And sure enough, like those companies didn't do so hot. One of the weirdest jobs I ever had, I did some programming as a freelancer for Fox Reality TV. If you've ever seen the website like hotornot.com or ratemybody.com, Fox Reality TV basically made a reality TV show out of that. And I had to do like a bunch of Flash programming at the time. Like Flash was kind of the language and the mechanism for these animated things that you build into web pages. And it's pretty much gone now. Like nobody does Flash programming anymore. But they basically wanted this slider thing of like, you can, if you've ever seen those tools where it's like, you see all the different heads and you see all the different bodies and you see all the different legs and you get to like mix and match whatever. And so basically I had to like take the assets of like all the models on the show and like trim out their heads and their bodies and their legs. And so you can mix and match, make a new image out of that and like email it to your friends. And they're like, okay, well, you have to fill out all these timesheets, like documenting all the time that you spend. And then they started putting a lot of pressure on. They're like, hey, we need to get this thing released. We got a new season of the show coming out. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm already working like 40 plus hours a week on this. Like, how much time do you want me to put in on this? And they're like, well, we have to get it done. We got a deadline. I'm like, all right. And so I filled out a timesheet where I did something ridiculous, like 200 hours over a 2-week period. And I handed in my timesheet and they're like, we can't pay this. I'm like, you told me whatever it took. Like, you told me you needed me to do the job and get it done. You had a deadline. And they're like, well, I'm going to get in a lot of trouble if I submit this timesheet with all this overtime, because as a consultant, I was already making good money. But they also had a clause that I was making like time and a half or double time and a half or something for overtime beyond a certain point. And they're like, this is going to be a ridiculous invoice. And I'm like, it's not my fault that you changed the deadline and didn't consult me how much time it was going to take to do. Like, you set the deadline, you told me to hit the deadline. So I hit the deadline and this is what it's going to cost. And, in retrospect, I should have told them ahead of time, like, hey, if that's really the deadline, like I'm going to be submitting like a really beefy timesheet after that. And so after that, then they're like, okay, well, no more big, ridiculous timesheets. I'm like, well, then no more deadlines. Either that or you have to consult me and have me help you set the deadline. And then I realized that I just didn't want to work for Fox Reality anymore. And so I canceled my contract with them and stepped away from it. It was a very interesting experience working in that side of the entertainment industry, but it was a really crappy project. Like, I hated working on that project. I'm like, it's bad enough to objectify people's bodies, but like being right in the throes of where I've got to make like pixel perfect matchups of, mixing and matching people's bodies. It's awful. 0 out of 10, do not recommend. So yeah, I don't miss that job. it was interesting experience. And, you know, getting into that level of like action script programming and building out the Flash and stuff like that, it was interesting, like loading all the assets in near real time and being able to like produce a final like static image out of that. Like, how do you take the components and actually make an image out of that on a back-end process to like stitch them together, put some kind of background image behind it, you know, with transparency layers, and then like actually email that to somebody. Just the mechanism of doing that. It was interesting engineering work, but like the material that I had to use to do it sucked, and would not do that again. So, let's see, what are some other crazy experiences? So that super toxic job that I hated, the manager. When I left that job, I basically took another job, like just literally, like I will interview with anybody in the first job offer. I'm taking it because I need to get out of this other job. I took a huge pay cut to take that job, and that was the company where the CEO wanted to micromanage and go learn programming over a weekend. That job had no health benefits, and everybody had 7 days of PTO, including sick leave. And so not only did we not get health benefits to like go get something like a flu shot, one person came into the office with the flu, got like almost everybody else in the office sick. And so it wiped us all out for like several days. We all got back and the CEO was like, all right, well, how many days were you actually gone? Because I got to deduct that off your PTO. And I'm like, seriously? Like, you're not paying us to go get a flu shot. Like, you're not paying for the health benefits to give us a flu shot. And then you're going to, you know, ding us because we caught the flu because some bonehead didn't stay home because they didn't want to take time off. Like, this is on you. This is not on us. And he's like, nope, we got to track all this. And I'm like, I'm out. Like, that was just a horrible situation. So, Stephen Hungry says in chat, I had a manager that was such an idiot. I don't think I've had too many managers that were just like outright idiots. I did have a couple of managers who came from more of the business side of things. Like, they had like an MBA and they had gone through business school, but didn't have like a technical background. And so it was much harder to talk to them about like, this is why this project's taking a long time. Like, we're hitting these hurdles and whatever. Any manager that I ever had who had come from a technical background and gone into a management track, they always had a much better understanding of like what it meant, you know, when I say like, hey, we're hitting a hurdle, we're hitting a roadblock, we're stuck on this, we got to work through this other thing, or we need to suddenly prioritize this other thing. Like, as a lead engineer, it was my job to bring that to their attention. And so to really push for, hey, you don't come from a technical background, so I'm going to try to put this into everyday language as best I can, but like, we're running into these things and we have to prioritize this other thing. Like, you need to trust me that we have to prioritize this other thing. And thankfully I had enough reputation and enough sort of clout at the company that I was trusted on that kind of stuff. As a lead architect at a company, like, you hope that you've got that level of trust and so on. But Dino QWERTY, thanks for the follow. It's good to have you here. We're just chatting about like interview prep and career prep. I had someone ask like, what are some crazy experiences I've had in my career? I've been in the tech industry for 25 years, so I got stories to tell. I've seen some things. It's always fun to talk about a little bit without going into too much detail. Like, I'm not ever going to identify like what these companies were, but yeah, it was pretty interesting. Can I help with a PC problem? Maybe. I mean, this isn't really a channel for like PC support, but I mean, I'll try. I've mostly been out of like the Windows realm until like about 6 months ago when I started getting into streaming. I think crypto miners are mining when I open Steam games. Interesting. I mean, what I would do for that is in Windows, I think is it Control-Shift-Escape? Yeah, Control-Shift-Escape will bring up your task manager in Windows if you're on Windows, presuming you're on Windows. Control-Shift-Escape will bring up your task manager. And from there, if you're on like Windows 10 or 11, maybe Windows 8, I'm not sure about previous versions, you can actually get like a column breakdown of like CPU and RAM and whatever, and you can sort by CPU and just see what's using the most CPU and see if you can kill that task. If it kills your game, then whatever you killed, the game requires. But if you kill something that's like really high CPU usage and nothing happens in your game, then you probably didn't need that thing running. You can also find out the name of the executable, and you can like go Google like, you know, is this thing a crypto miner, or is it like a virus, or like, you know, spyware? or malware or something like that. I mean, it's hard to say what's actually going on in your system, but those would be the first couple things I would do to check, like what's using the CPU time. Go see if you can kill that task, and if you kill it and it goes away, great. If the next time you start the game it happens again, I would maybe consider like looking at the game or contact the game developer and say, hey, when I run this game, this thing is happening. It's using the GPU, and it says that the game is using the GPU. Okay, but every game I open uses all of my GPU. Can you name the games? Like, are they well-known like game titles, or are they like independent games, or like are they like an indie game, or are they like a mainstream sort of game? Because those would be considerations too. I mean, if it's a top tier kind of game, I mean, it's using your GPU for legit reasons. I'm curious why you think it's mining crypto just because it's using your GPU. I mean, if it's a high graphics game, it's actually using the GPU for the graphics side of it. I'm a little bit curious why you think it's mining crypto. I've done crypto in the past, and I've tried like, really utilizing like tons of CPU and GPU power. I've got what am I running? I'm running like an NVIDIA 3090 in my rig right now, and I thought about doing some cryptocurrency. Like when I'm not streaming, I'll just mine some crypto. But by the time you factor in like the power usage and the wear and tear, it's like, you know what, it's probably not worth it. I mean, for the amount of money it takes to buy a GPU these days, it's just not worth it. So yeah, DynaQuery, like, sorry, I'm not gonna be able to help that much. But I mean, if you can describe like what kinds of games they are, I mean, if they are indie games, then I would maybe consider like, uninstalling them and then see whether it still happens. Does it happen when you start stream? Does it only happen when you run the game? You downloaded Salad a few days ago and I uninstalled it because the Steam problem is still having the problem. So if you uninstalled it and it's still happening, then sometimes when you uninstall a program on Windows, it doesn't like fully delete all of the files. And when you install something, it may put it in your Windows registry that says like start these things like every time you start up. There is a way in Windows settings that you can go see like what applications and what programs are starting when you reboot your machine, and just go through and check all of those and make sure they're legit. If there's anything in there that seems kind of sketch, then I would delete that entry, or just maybe before you delete it, do a little more investigation on like what those processes are, what they do. And if you see anybody be like, oh yeah, it's a crypto miner, then just delete it off your system. Or better yet, when you say like go uninstall, this particular game, go find the folder on like, it's probably on your C drive under like program files. Go find the folder where that game was installed and just make sure that that directory gets fully deleted. And then anything that was there trying to start just can't start. So you could try something like that. I've played the games a lot before, but only now they're mining. So again, I'm curious, like, why you think that they're mining. Like, is it just because it's using the GPU? Like, if it was never like a high-intensity graphics game in the past, but now it's using your GPU, I'm curious why you think it's specifically crypto. Because to just suspect it is one thing, but like, unless you know for sure that it's actually mining crypto, I don't know. Like, I'm not sure what to tell you from there. But I would start by doing those things, like, go make sure that the directory is totally gone. Make sure that that you go look at your Windows setup and go find out like where the startup applications are happening and make sure that those get cleared out. Aside from that, I'm not going to be much help because I've been mostly away from Windows for many, many years. I'm only just getting back into it. And I use Windows like full time now. Like I've got the Windows subsystem for Linux and I'm doing a lot of my development on just on my machine because, I never know when I want to like drop in and start doing some streaming. And I don't want to like bounce around from machine to machine. But yeah, I'm unfortunately not going to be able to help too much on the Windows side. When Salad was not supposed to be running and a Steam game was open, it would give Salad money. So I don't know what the Salad thing is, so I'm not going to be able to really advise you on that. Sorry. Let's go do a quick search over here. So Steam game called Salad. Earn free Steam games with Salad. So yeah, Salad is it's called the easiest crypto miner for gamers. So yeah, Salad is a crypto miner. and it looks like it's giving you gift cards or whatever for like games on Steam. So yeah. So yeah, I mean, your suspicion is right. You've installed a crypto miner, so that's exactly what's happening. Like while you're playing your games, it's mining crypto on your GPU to help give you the rewards or whatever. But you're basically earning crypto for somebody else. And so if your GPU happens to like unlock a Bitcoin or something like that, they're getting the Bitcoin. You're getting like a fraction of that. They're not giving you the Bitcoin. Like if anything, you'd be better off just running your own crypto miner and just mining your own crypto, as opposed to mining it for somebody else in that scenario. Salad should not have been running. So again, it might be set to run as soon as Windows starts up. Like as soon as you start up your PC, it may be set to automatically run in the background no matter what. And then as you run the games, maybe it's because like sometimes when applications run, they can see what other applications are running. And so maybe the Salad thing is just kind of sitting in the background watching all the other processes. And as soon as you launch a game or launch Steam, it's like, oh, you're on Steam. Cool. I'm going to like start mining crypto. And so that's probably what's happening is it's probably set to like auto start when you boot your machine. And you're just going to have to figure out how to shut that off or uninstall Salad if you don't want it anymore. So yeah, I mean, if it runs when a game is running, I mean, that's what Salad is supposed to be doing. So if you knew that, then it sounds like it's behaving and doing exactly what it's supposed to be doing. Like when you run a game, it's using your GPU to mine crypto. Like that's what Salad is from what I'm seeing. I've never heard of it until now. So, I mean, this is just kind of my first impression. It's uninstalled, but it still runs. Have you rebooted since you uninstalled it? So it might actually still be running as a process until you actually reboot your machine. Or, like I said, sometimes when you tell it to uninstall, it doesn't actually uninstall everything, and you may need to go in and like manually delete it. But I would check through your Windows settings to find like how the services and applications start when you boot your machine and see whether it's listed in there. Because it may be running and you won't be able to delete that directory if it's still running. So you may need to like restart in safe mode where it doesn't start any of those tasks and then go in and make sure that that stuff gets cleaned out. Those would be the first couple of things that I would look at from there. Do you just restart? I mean, if you just uninstalled it and you see that it's still running, it's probably still running because that process is still in memory and it'll finish uninstalling once you reboot. If it's still running even after a reboot, then it didn't uninstall fully. And you may need to Google, like, how do I uninstall the Salad application fully or something like that. So you're going to have to find some instructions on that. Sorry, I don't have any good advice for you there. Cool. All right, well, good to have you on the chat, Dino. Cool. Great stream. Got to head out. Cool. Nice to chat with you today. Glad that chat on equity was helpful for you today, Altran. See you Thursday for sure. Yep. Yeah, salmon and asparagus going to be a good pair. I got to think of like how I want to season it. I think some olive oil and salt and pepper and just make it kind of plain. Maybe throw a little garlic on the salmon. I think it'd be good. Ooh, no, garlic on the asparagus would be good. But yeah. Cool. Well, I'm going to hop offline. It's 4:30. Been streaming now for a little over 2 hours. Gosh, almost 2.5 hours. Time flies in a hurry. So I'm going to hop off. I'm going to go make some, miso salmon. You know what? I've got some miso upstairs. I'm going to look into that. Thanks for the suggestion. Yeah, I got some miso that I need to use up. And I've got some extra tofu left over too. So yeah, I'm gonna look for a way to mix that up. So cool. Thanks for the suggestion. Yeah, I'm going to hop offline. Been at this for 2.5 hours. I will be back Thursday night. You will need to be on the stream if you want to hang out and get some of these 3D printable dragons. So I've got a whole bunch of these to give away. I'll probably have a dozen or so of these to give away on Thursday's stream. Some of them are bigger than others. Yeah, I'm going to have a whole bunch of those to give away. Thanks for hanging out today. Appreciate it. Thanks for chatting. Thanks for your questions. And we'll see you Thursday night. Let's see who's online that we can go raid. See if anybody's around to go raid. Nobody I follow to go raid. Anybody have a suggestion on who we can raid? We can just drop a couple of folks in their channel. See if there's some other makers. What are they making? CB build stream. What's a CB? Ooh, somebody doing test-driven development. I kind of want to raid them just because they do TDD. Music, chatting, music. Yeah, let's go see what this maker is doing over here. Got to sit through their advertisement first. So we'll see. We might do a little raid, or I'll just shut down from here. So I will stop my recording.